Take an in-depth look at the benefits of becoming a teacher. We did some math. We did some research. The D2 Research Department at work, and we reached out to 5 different districts. I was amazed at the hundreds and hundreds of new teachers that they're hiring this year. We often talk about the downsides of teaching. Let's talk about the upside to teaching. And I wonder if the draw is part of this new pay scale thanks to the Utah legislature bumping pay.
We've really had a good rush of candidates coming in. And I think part of that comes from the allocation from the legislature of taxpayer dollars to help support increased teacher pay.
Yeah, and some of that pay is starting at $59,000, $60,000 for year one. That sounds incredible. And the bigger question I have, though, is we were upside down. We had more teachers retiring than we were able to replace. So are we finding that balance that we're able to replace every teacher that leaves?
Launch countdown 1.
All right, listen up. We're going to walk you through some big changes for the 2024 presidential primary in Utah. You're going to have to go to a caucus night. So we hope you like getting together with your neighbors. So if you want to be a part of the selection process for the Republican nominee for president, that is.
We've done this in the past. In 2016, we've seen that it was a benefit for the state, and it created additional engagement.
I've never been to a caucus night. I do feel like I'm being forced to go.
Dave and Dujanovic.
The Launch.
Commence.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Is this like a Tupperware party? You know, we all get together. Someone brings the potato salad. Somebody else brings the lathered up mayo pasta salad. And you all sit around and decide who should be the nominee for the GOP for the presidency. Now, if you're scratching your head just a little bit on what this means, we're going to try to make this as easy as possible for you. We spent a lot of time trying to figure it out ourselves. So first of all, you're probably used to voting 2 ways, and they're going to mix this up. So you show up on election day, you vote in person, right? Or you sit down at your kitchen table, you fill out the mail-in ballot. Yeah, forget about it. That's not how this is going to work.
To be clear, only for this specific election, right? Like, this is only for the 2024 presidential primary for Republicans. It's an important one. Every other primary, business as usual. But this is the one for choosing Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, everybody, right? This is to narrow down who you want to see on November's ballot.
Okay. So you're not going to get a ballot mailed to you.
No.
Instead, you're going to have to attend a caucus night, which is a meeting, right? Like an in-person meeting. I think you just walk to your neighbor's house, or maybe you walk to like a local library, and you all get together. And this vote happens on March 5th, which also happens to be Super Tuesday.
Yes.
Right? So the winner, whoever you choose, whether it's whoever it is, DeSantis, we can go through Trump, Ramaswamy, whoever it is, Pence, the winner takes Utah's 40 delegates. And a Republican nominee, if you're keeping score here, needs 1,234 delegates between all 50 states to win the Republican nomination.
Yes. And then,
does that make sense?
At the Republican National Convention, that's when everybody gathers and they say, Utah delivers 40 delegates to Donald J. Trump or whoever it might be. We think it's a winner takes all of the 40 delegates. Again, that is still kind of up in the air. They may split it up. We don't know yet.
Okay, so there's some local precinct chairs who will host the caucus night.
Yes.
So there will be many of them, right?
Yeah.
Do we know how the vote is going to actually happen? Do you only like?
That's a great question, Debbie. Because no, we do not.
Oh,
it's called a presidential preference poll. I don't know. It's not run by your county clerk.
Did you figure out what you will have to do if, let's say, like your job pulls you away? Like we send you across the country to cover a story or something on that night and you can't show up?
It does seem like again, we do not have the specifics on this, but there will be a manner in which you can have a surrogate vote for you, perhaps a family member, a neighbor can, I don't know if your neighbor can take a ballot,
Yikes.
what it's going to look like.
Goodness. Should we get more information from KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aerts? She's a political reporter. She broke this story late yesterday afternoon, and she's going to join us in just a few moments and walk us through what she knows about this.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
The recovery and rebuild will take a generation.
The fire was moving at a mile a minute.
We ran out of the house. I'm lucky to be alive.
Destruction of Lahaina. There is very little left there.
Maui strong. You're seeing it in full display as people are coming out of the woodworks to serve, to help.
During these times, Utahns pull together to help friends and communities in need. Please join us by donating to the disaster relief right at our website. Look for Maui Strong at KSLNewsRadio.com.
Warmer weather is here, and Skinny Utah would like to help you shape up for summer by losing 20 pounds in the next 40 days. That's right, 20 pounds in as little as 40 days. That's the Skinny Utah promise. Skinny Utah will customize every plan because no two bodies are alike. Their proven program is 100% natural. There are never any prepackaged meals or shakes to buy, and they never use dangerous drugs or hormones. Skinny Utah will teach you how to eat real food you buy at the store. Take the first step to a healthier new you and schedule your free weight loss strategy session at skinnyutah.com. A $300 value, absolutely free. Skinny Utah has offices in Draper, Orem, Centerville, and St. George, and they're extending their couple special, where the second person is half price. Schedule your free weight loss strategy session today at skinnyutah.com. That's skinnyutah.com. At Skinny Utah, you have nothing to lose but the weight.
Hey, Derek Overstreet here from the New Millennium Group, financial advisors in Utah. You know, I've been helping people retire in the state of Utah for the last 20 years. The way we do that is we actually find out what is important to you. We create a step-by-step plan that takes into consideration your income, your debt, whether you want money from real estate, stock market, annuities, life insurance, whatever. If you want to deal with professionals, people that are fiduciaries and have a legal responsibility and obligation to do what's in your best interest, give my team a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Or go to my website, utahsfinancialplanner.com. If you'd like to retire 3 to 5 years before you thought it was possible, give my team a call right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370.
Are you a business owner or HR rep? Does your company offer health insurance to your employees? If so, how do you know if you're getting the best deal on employee benefits? Every company works with a benefit broker who offers insurance plans. But did you know that a benefit broker makes more money when you spend more? Brokers are not only incentivized to steer you to more expensive insurance plans, but the more quotes they get, the harder they have to work and the less money they make. Most brokers get quotes from a few insurance companies, or they recommend you renew as is. They don't do the extra work to get you the best deal. Either way, they get paid. What if you could save 10%, 20%, or more, but you don't know it? No one should have to wonder if they're getting the best deal on employee benefits. My name is Keith with Magellan & Linden. We're a different kind of benefit broker that offers a best plan, best price guarantee. Unlike other brokers, we get quotes from every insurance company every year. It forces insurance companies to compete for your business and offer the best deal possible. We'll show you all your options, help you weigh the pros and cons, and then you'll feel confident to make the right choice for your company. Here's what you do. Step 1, visit shopmyplan.com. Step 2, we get you free quotes with no strings attached. Step 3, if you like what you see, let's work together. Step 4, you get the best plan at the best price. Your employees will be happy because they have great insurance. Your bank account will thank you because you got a great deal. If your benefits broker isn't getting quotes from every insurance company every year, you're probably paying too much. That's money that could make a big difference to your business, your employees, and your bottom line. You've got nothing to lose, so visit shopmyplan.com today to get the best deal on employee health insurance. That's shopmyplan.com. Again, shopmyplan.com. Let's save you some money. Visit shopmyplan.com today.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, Utah's Republican Party has opted out of next year's presidential primary. Instead, the party is opting for a presidential preference poll during caucus night. Second, we are now hearing from a former Provo utility worker who says he had a gun pointed at him by the same man shot and killed by the FBI ahead of President Biden's Utah visit. And third, a repair team has been scrambling to get the air conditioning back up and running at Lakeside Elementary School in West Point as kids in the Davis district return to school this morning. Right now, it's 81 degrees in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
It does feel like to me that the GOP is going way back in time with its approach to the 2024 presidential primary in March. It will not be done by a mail-in ballot this year. You won't go to a voting booth somewhere. You'll have to show up at a caucus night, like in your neighborhood, to vote in person. We don't know yet, though, if it's going to be a paper ballot, if it's going to be a show of hands. Here's the choices so
help
so
me
far.
if it's a show of hands, Debbie. So help me if it's a show of hands.
Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, Chris Christie. Y'all be nice and close and packed in your neighbor's living room making these decisions next year.
Yeah, they're called precinct chairs, and they organize caucus night. So there's going to be caucus nights all over the state of Utah. You'll be able to find out where yours is at, typically on the state website. It's like Find My Caucus or something. You put in your address, and we'll say, oh, okay, this is where your caucus night, this is your precinct chair. So then you show up, you have some discussion, and then you ultimately vote. You vote on who you want to be the 2024 Republican nominee for president.
Let's begin with KSL News Radio's Lindsay Aerts report. She learned of this yesterday, broke it all down yesterday afternoon. She's going to join us live so we can ask her more questions about this.
State Party Chair Robert Axson has told the Lieutenant Governor's office the party is foregoing the presidential primary. Instead, members will have to show up at caucus night and vote in a presidential preference poll.
We've done this in the past. In 2016, we've seen that it was a benefit for the state, and it created additional engagement.
One critic blasting the move, calling caucus nights antiquated, insecure, and an unaccountable relic of last century. Axson says they will allow for people to vote by proxy or via an online portal.
Somebody could submit a vote that they could then have brought into caucus by a family member or a neighbor.
Those critics further argue the move will make the election less secure. Lindsay Aerts, KSL News Radio.
An unaccountable relic. Retro is cool. I love some retro shoes, love some retro cars. Retro voting, though?
And online portals and preference polling. Lots of questions for you, Lindsay. Good morning.
Yeah, hi guys, how are you?
Do you know why the Republicans have decided to go this route?
Well, yeah, in my conversation with Robert Axson yesterday, he talked about a handful of reasons. First of all, he thinks it incentivizes turnout at the caucus nights. When you have an incentive like voting on the next president of the United States, it really incentivizes people to make time to clear their schedules to come to a caucus night. And that's been one of the big criticisms of caucus night, is that nobody goes, and these elections happen from the most ardent supporters who tend to be much more conservative than the wider swath of the party. And so he argues it incentivizes people. He also says it saves the state taxpayer money. Without the state involved, they don't have to run a primary election. There's no cost for the counties. It's all on the party, and thus it's the party's decision in how they operate this. And then thirdly, he believes that it will incentivize presidential candidates to come to Utah to campaign with those specific voters who are going to caucus night, instead of in a primary election where perhaps a candidate can just buy a TV ad and it reaches the largest swath of voters possible.
Did he speak to the possibility that it would disenfranchise voters? That so few people will show up in comparison to mail-out ballots.
Yeah, we talked about that at length because I think that's one of the biggest concerns is how do we keep this thing secure when you don't have the state's laws that govern primary elections in play here? And also, how do you even do the voting method? So they say they have a process in place. So he said it was too early to talk about details, how the voting would happen. He did tell our KSL at Night host, Taylor Morgan, that there would not be a method for like a runoff or ranked choice voting, meaning that it's likely just going to be a straight vote where the person who gets the most votes wins that precinct, right? And then that all gets aggregated. So it's just there's still a lot of questions about how the voting will happen. And I myself have not also been to a caucus night, so it's not fair for me to kind of say how the process goes. But I have been to Republican conventions and county conventions, and the voting there, sometimes it's done by a clicker. Sometimes it's done literally by a piece of paper that we put in the ballot box. So it remains to be seen actually how the voting is going to happen. They're also going to have an online way for people like the Mitt Romneys of the world, the Governor Coxes of the world, the people who are serving the state, the people who are serving in the military, the EMTs, the people who get called away for work or just busy with a kid's soccer game, for them to be able to cast a vote. And the party maintains that they will have a way for that to happen.
Lindsay Ehret's on the line with us right now. KSL's political reporter broke the story yesterday that in Utah, the GOP has decided to opt out of a mail-in ballot system or, an in-person voting system that we traditionally know and use for the presidential primary in 2024. And instead, we'll have folks head to their local area caucus meeting. I worry, Lindsay, and I don't know if the GOP chair got into this with you at all, that there is so much confusion around voting. I mean, we already have kind of some confusion going on now with this CD2 race, the Congressional District 2 race, and the fact that the primary got bumped up and the other elections and got changed and that type of thing. So now we got this facing at least the GOP Republicans in 2024. I mean, are they concerned that people are just going to be so confused that maybe they just don't know what to do or where to go?
Well, it's a fair criticism, certainly, Deb. We didn't talk about that specifically, but I think that the party just maintains that they can do this and they have a way to do this. They did it in 2016 and they can do it again. And I think those criticisms are likely what you're going to see play out over the next however many months until March 5th of next year, because when you have a public election, you have county clerks administering it, you have drop boxes, you have cameras around drop boxes. This is going to be a bunch of different precinct chairs who all have to count the votes. And certainly we as the media can't have eyes on every single precinct, right, to make sure everything's counted correctly. But again, the party maintains that they will have those processes in place, and they have in the past. And again, this is the party's right to do. It is the party who operates like a business in Utah, so they get to set their rules. Once they opt out of this state's primary election, and to be very clear, this is just for the presidential primary. This does not impact the rest of the elections in 2024. So when we go to elect, for example, Governor Cox up for re-election, if we re-elect him, whoever he's running against, that will be a state-run administered process. The party cannot opt out of that. But this is for the presidential primary. They get to choose how to do it. And this is what they believe is best for their members of their party.
Yeah, it's a one-off. Thank you, Lindsay Ehret, KSL News Radio, political reporter. Thanks for joining us, Linz.
And I think, Lindsay, you just kind of added perhaps to the layer of confusion there that I'm sensing could be part of the issue coming up in March with this, and that is that it's just for the presidential primary, and it's not for other races. Does it feel like this could potentially be confusing to folks?
No question. Debbie, you and I spent hours this morning collectively trying to sort through this, figure out what it means, why they're doing it, what the method will be, what the security will look like. When we come back, let's talk to somebody that's been there, done that. Taylor Morgan, host of KSL at Night. Is caucus the best path? Is this the future? The retro voting, the way of doing things, is this the best path forward? We'll talk to KSL at Night host Taylor Morgan.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour, 111 people are now confirmed dead from the wildfire on Maui. ABC's Alex Stone is in Lahaina.
Everything in the heart of town is gone. Left behind is a gray and white ash color, but it's in such stark contrast to the bright turquoise blue ocean waters against what was Front Street. The fire spared nothing here. And then at the end of where the fire burned, there are neighborhoods where locals, including children, are doing their own security and looter patrols with a giant sign that reads, "Tourists, keep out."
Hawaii Governor Josh Green says he is working on a moratorium on the sale of damaged or destroyed property on Maui. Officials in the Northern California town of Paradise have begun installing and testing warning sirens to deploy in the event of another wildfire or other natural disaster. The sirens are nearly ready, close to the 5-year anniversary of a fast-moving wildfire that killed 85 people. Officials in Hawaii are facing questions after a robust siren system wasn't activated at the start of that wildfire that has killed more than 100 people. Park City ski guides are facing a lawsuit this morning over the death of a California man earlier this year.
46-year-old Ryan Barr was killed in March when he and his friend were buried in a backcountry avalanche in Weber Canyon. In the lawsuit, his wife says some of the guides with Park City Powder Cats and Heliski were grossly negligent and caused the death of her husband. She's asking to be awarded damages for the loss of Barr and the loss of his income, among other things. Park City Powder Cats say Barr signed a waiver and that his death was due to an act of God. Kate Davis, KSL News Radio.
Your money at this moment. The Dow is down 17 points now, just a fraction. We're at 34,743. Coming up, a chance of afternoon thunder showers. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32. This summer, the political season heats up.
By August, it'll be time for debates. Can you believe it?
We're planning coverage of the real issues, the important stories that impact how we live.
Listen each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
You know, for the last 6 years, I've had a Connecticut water softener. Believe it or not, even after 6 years, I still have 4 years left on my warranty. It's a 10-year warranty. Who in the world offers a 10-year warranty on anything? It's incredible. I think what it does when it comes to Connecticut and why they offer this kind of extensive warranty is they have so much faith, so much trust in the way their system is designed. It's all mechanical. It's not slowed down or confusing because you have to program everything with all the computer. You know, it's none of that. They hook it up. You get soft water. All you have to do is throw a little salt in the bin every couple of months in my house, and it's so efficient that it only takes a third of the salt that everybody else does. So it's highly efficient. You get soft water, and we've been very, very happy with it in our home. So if you're interested, give Connecticut of Utah a call, 801-576-8600. That's 801-576-8600, or check them out online at softwaterutah.com, softwaterutah.com.
Are you or someone you take care of as their caregiver living with Alzheimer's disease? This study just might be for you. Consider participating in a Therapist clinical trial exploring a novel repair and regenerative approach to Alzheimer's disease. Pantheon Clinical Research in Salt Lake City is looking for people with mild to moderate dementia, 55 to 85 years old. A consistent caregiver or support person is necessary for the conduct of this study. This study is a late-stage clinical study of an investigational drug for the treatment of mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease. Pantheon Clinical Research has over 30 years' experience with clinical trials. They conduct their business with professionalism, efficiency, and integrity. Contact Pantheon Clinical Research in Salt Lake City today. Again, call Pantheon Clinical Research today at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550. Or go to pantheonclinical.com. That's pantheonclinical.com.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. And let's face it, it's time to update the look of your home's exterior. When was that thing built? In the 50s, 70s, 90s, the 2000s? Well, it's looking like it. Faded siding, drafty windows, leaky gutters. It's time to take action now. RGS Exteriors has been taking Utah homes from drab to fab for over 5 generations. We only use the highest quality materials like James Hardy siding and gutter topper gutter covers. You will be blown away by how much different and better and awesome your house can look. Your neighbors will be jealous, your home value will go up, and most of all, you're going to love it. Everything we do comes with our industry-leading 10-year everything guarantee, so you can sleep like a baby, knowing if anything goes wrong, you're 100% covered. For a free estimate on your gutters, windows, siding, or anything on your outside of your home, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have pretty good speeds all across the Wasatch Front. You may have a few brake lights showing up still northbound I-15 as you approach the Spaghetti Bowl in South Salt Lake. That's where the 201 and I-80 freeways meet I-15. And we have construction on Legacy Parkway, lane restrictions, so you might see a little bit of slowing as you head through Farmington, but everybody else moving at speed. Snowbird's annual Oktoberfest is back for its 51st year. Enjoy classic German beverages, food, and music every Saturday and Sunday, including Labor Day through October 15th. Get all of the details at snowbird.com. Heather Kelly and the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, today's high will be 96 degrees with a chance of thunderstorms this afternoon. Some rainy weather will keep up through the start of next week with highs dropping down into the 80s for the weekend. Right now it's 82 at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com. Your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. Special coverage of the top local story.
Well, if you are a registered Republican here in Utah, and you want to participate in the 2024 presidential primary in March, you're going to have to go to a caucus meeting. There will not be mail-in ballots or in-person ballot boxes, voting booths that you would normally go to. This will be a meeting at your local neighborhood caucus, like somebody's living room. And that's a change. It's actually a throwback to 2016, and some would say a throwback to the 1800s. That the GOP has made that decision that they will not have the tradition, what we've become used to, the traditional mail-in ballot.
Republicans in this state, the most ardent Republicans, seem to love the caucus system. They love caucus convention. They love to be able to get together, discuss, debate, and then vote in this one location or in several locations. They like the I guess the camaraderie. There's a lot of things that they may like about it. Joining us right now is KSL at Night host Taylor Morgan, also the executive director of Count My Vote. Taylor, can you help maybe give us the argument why Republicans like the caucus system so much?
Well, certainly, Dave, I can do my best. And to be fair, I have been a longtime participant in the caucus convention process. I've been a precinct chair, a precinct vice chair. I've been a county and a state delegate. And I've been an active participant in the caucus convention process. And there are a lot of things to like about it in theory, Dave. But in practice, it simply breaks down and does not work. It really is a relic of a bygone era. Back in the days when you needed to hitch up your horses and buggy in St. George to send your delegate from St. George up to Salt Lake City to vote at convention for you because you had no other way to do that with modern technology. It worked back then. It made sense back then. But today, we have other methods that are modern, that are tested and proven. And frankly, caucus meetings are just not accessible. They're not how Utahns engage in politics. Ultimately, Dave, it's the equivalent of election or political LARPing by a very, very tiny group of radicals within the party who, frankly, are full-time hobbyists. This is their thing. This is all they do. And they tend to bully the everyday Utah voters who show up at caucus. And that's one of the reasons why so few Utahns actually participate in caucus meetings.
Taylor, keep this question in the back of your mind. I'm going to get back to it in just a moment, but I'm wondering if there's something more at play here than we just want to save the state money and taxpayers' money by not having to have a traditional like mail-in ballot primary election for the presidential candidate or primary, the guy we want to pick or the woman we want to pick for president.
Debbie, if I can, not to cut you off, but that argument is really a non-starter. The Utah legislature has already funded and paid for the 2024 Republican presidential primary, an official primary administered by state election officials. That has been paid for. The state legislature tried to avoid the party doing this by funding that in advance. And so this argument to save taxpayer money, it's nonsense, Debbie. We heard the exact opposite message from the Utah Republican Party when they rushed through the congressional special election to replace Chris Stewart.
So is this a way to knock Donald Trump out of the running in terms of Utah's choice? Because so many heavy hitters here in Utah within the Republican Party have already endorsed Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and they did so when he paid a visit about a month and a half ago to the state of Utah. So is this a way for the few to select their favorite, their new favorite?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so, Debbie. I don't think this move by the state Republican Party has anything to do with the candidates. This really is all about the Utah Republican Party knows that caucus convention is irrelevant. They know Utahns don't participate in it. They don't like that process. So they are literally forcing Utah Republicans to have to go to caucus meetings in order to find a way to make caucus relevant again. They're ultimately holding Republican voters hostage in Utah by forcing them to go to a caucus meeting in order to vote for their presidential candidate of choice.
Taylor, in defense of making people show up, one thing I think out of convenience, we try to make things so easy that it loses some of the importance. When you actually have to show up and do some work and listen to some debates and have a discussion, I think that leads to a more healthy political system. I think part of the problem is we're all keyboard warriors. We're sitting in our house, we're filling out our ballots, or we're typing something on social media with no interaction. I can see there being a benefit of having to show up and make it maybe a little less convenient, but I think it could be more meaningful.
Sure, Dave, I totally agree with you. That is one of the theoretical benefits of this caucus convention process, is that it, in theory, gets voters and neighbors together in their communities to talk about important issues. That simply just doesn't happen, though, Dave. And the real problem here is that caucus meetings are simply not equally accessible. Utahns in the military overseas, ER doctors, nurses, parents with homework and kids at piano practice. If you can't physically show up in person to your caucus meeting, you're simply excluded. You don't have a voice. And we have heard the party say that they'll provide a way for Utahns who can't show up in person to cast a ballot. But they've been saying that for the last 10 years, and they've never actually figured that out. And so the caucus convention process remains just exclusionary by nature and by structure. It simply doesn't represent the will of the majority of Republicans in Utah.
Taylor, we got to fly here, but I went back into the archives of Deseret News, Deseret.com, during the break as we were, examining what does voter turnout look like at caucuses. And the Deseret News did a breakdown because in 2016, this is the route. I think both parties went this route in 2016, and they compared it to 2008 when there was a more, I guess, an in-person system in place, and there was a huge drop-off in participation with the caucus meetings. They said that there was 100,000 fewer voters in 2016 compared to the year they compared it to was 2018. So, a third of active registered voters went to the polls in 2008 compared to 22% in 2016. So, I mean, to your point, I'm making your point for you. It just doesn't have the draw that the easier path has when we can vote at the kitchen table.
Taylor, quick question.
Yeah,
Sorry, Debbie made your point, so I got to ask another question. Hey, can only Republicans vote in this?
Yes. Yep.
How do you confirm that or make sure that they're registered Republicans on a list?
Well, the party has a process in place already for caucus meetings to verify that those who attend are registered Republicans. They provide a list. The party often provides an app. There are different ways that caucus precinct officers are required to verify party registration status at the caucus meeting.
But since it's not run by the state, could they theoretically vote in the Republican caucus and then also vote in the Democratic primary? Or there's no Democratic primary, but theoretically?
Well, Dave, again, the state Republican Party has opted out of all election security safeguards. By holding this internal election with paper balloting, with whatever mechanism they use, they have chosen to not implement any of today's best practices for election security. And ultimately, there's no control, there's no oversight. There are no state laws governing this process.
Taylor Morgan, thank you for joining us, KSL at Night host. Taylor's not lukewarm on this step. He doesn't like the idea. Taylor, thanks for joining us.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-new station in the morning?
It's this one, weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
You've been following my SOTA weight loss journey for almost 20 months now. I lost 37 pounds in the first 12 weeks. Amazing, feel different, look different, able to act different. And all of it came through just the power and simplicity of SOTA. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is. You've got that weekly one-on-one coaching that I love to talk about, that accountability piece. And not just accountability, but insight. When you have a question, you're not sure, you're hesitating, you just text, you just call. You have access to your own nutritionist to keep you right on pace and keep everything going. It's also a whole 100% 360-degree look at how you approach nutrition. Getting your body the right energy, the right nutrients at the right time does make all the difference, and it's part of what makes SOTA so successful, not just for me, but for countless other people. As I said, I'm 20 months down the road, right on path, right where I've been for almost 20 months now. Same thing can happen for you. As I always say, when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win, so get winning. Start with SOTA weight loss today. Check it out at SOTAweightloss.com, SOTAweightloss.com.
Do you know why more homeowners choose Any Hour Services for help when it's time to replace their air conditioners? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and the main reasons people choose Any Hour Services is because of our people, processes, and convenience. People tell us all the time that there's just something different about having an Any Hour Services technician in their home. That's why most of our over 18,000 Google reviews mention our technicians by name. Another reason is our 7-step install process that we call the Any Hour Difference. It all starts with the needs analysis, where you explain what you like and dislike about your current system. This helps us design and size a system that fits your comfort and efficiency preferences as well as your home's airflow requirements. As for convenience, most of our installs are completed in one day. We also have flexible, no money down financing options available, even if you've been told no in the past. So if you've been thinking about getting a new air conditioner, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate today. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
I'm Bruce Huff, and I'm running for Congress. I spent the last 45 years working with others, building successful businesses and employing over 1,000 Utahns. Today, Washington, D.C. is broken. More than ever, we need an innovator who can create solutions and fight the entrenched administrative state. I'm a full-time conservative. I'm the only candidate in the race that voted for Donald Trump in 2020. I'll fight to balance the budget, secure the border, and protect parental rights. I'm pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. I'll do everything possible to move power away from D.C. back to the states. I'll fight to give states more control by pushing for unrestricted block grants that could put an additional $30,000 into every K-12 classroom in Utah. I'll protect the most vulnerable in society by creating tougher penalties for child sex traffickers. I'll take Utah's values of faith, self-reliance, and hard work to Washington. I'm Bruce Huff, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Paid for by friends of Bruce Huff.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 50 features.
Ooma?
Yep, switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Find small business calm at ooma.com/radio. That's OOMA.com/radio.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Amanda Dixon. First, a lawsuit has been filed against Park City ski guides over the death of a California man last March. Second, Utah's Republican Party has opted out of next year's presidential primary. Instead, the party is opting for a presidential preference poll during caucus night. Third, expect delays in Logan Canyon for much of the day today as ranchers continue moving cattle up to their late summer pastures. Right now, it's 82 in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
David Dujanovic.
Here is the headline that we want to talk more about. Found this at ksltv.com. Woman abandoned baby in stranger's driveway. Third similar Utah incident in a week, police say. Abandoned babies.
Yeah, that, Debbie, it's chilling. It's chilling to hear that, number one, that would happen, but there's so much that goes into this that Utah, the United States, they understand that babies being abandoned has been a problem in the past. And they've tried to put some resources in place and pass some laws to say, if you don't feel like you can care for your child, let us, whoever that collective us is, if it's the state, whatever, but we need to make sure that these children are safe.
Utah has what's called a safe haven law that helps new parents, gives new parents an avenue if they feel like they cannot care for their newborn. We're going to get into the details about that safe haven law with our very own Amanda Dixon in just a moment. But first, we want to get with Pat Reevey of KSL.com, who wrote the article about the 3 incidents that have happened in Utah in just the last week. Pat, good morning. Can you give us the nuts and bolts of these kind of different situations and where these babies have been left?
Right, yeah. We wrote the story just to show that this is still happening, and these 3 incidents are really happening in less than a week, I think about 4 or 5 days. The first one was started on Friday, where in Tooele, a woman, she gave birth in a car at a park. And so she was observed by, I guess, a passerby or somebody else in the park. They flagged down a police officer, said, hey, this woman is giving birth. She needs help. The emergency crews arrived. They took her to a local hospital. But by about 5 a.m., she had left the hospital against the recommendations of the medical staff there. By 12:45 p.m. the next day, the hospital staff figured, well, I guess maybe she isn't coming back. So they contacted police, and the mother was found smoking fentanyl at a nearby house. Then on Sunday, the next day, in a separate case in Bluffdale, there was a child that was found also walking around in a park. Park observers saw him kind of walking alone by himself for hours. So they also called police to say this doesn't seem right. Police did an investigation. They talked to the child. They said, no, my mom was doing heroin at home and she's asleep. The police go to the house, and sure enough, they find both the mother and a second woman, I believe the grandmother, who were both arrested for child endangerment and drug possession. Then we get to the case on Tuesday, earlier this week, where over in southern Utah, a woman suddenly came up on this driveway in Washington City. She hits the back of the trailer hitch of the truck that's parked in the driveway, gets out of the car, acting kind of erratic. She runs in, jumps in the truck she just hit, and tries to start it. Now, there are no keys in the car, so she can't start it. So she runs back to her own car and starts taking things out of the car. One of the things she took out of the car was her infant child still in the car seat, puts it on the curb, and then drives off. So the people who are in the driveway are wondering what's going on. She has no connection to these people. They call police. Police, based on the items that are left, other items that are left on the curb, they're able to identify her. They spot her a short time later, racing 100 miles per hour down the street. They decide at that point not to get into a pursuit for safety concerns. They follow up later, find her in a house in St. George, and then she is charged yesterday with child abandonment.
Pat Reevy, thank you for breaking that down for us, KSL.com reporter. Thank you, Pat.
This is a great time to talk about what is known as Utah Safe Haven Law with our very own Amanda Dixon, who's been involved with this. This law passed in 2001, and I think maybe enough time has gone by that parents of newborns don't realize what they can do if they feel like they cannot care for their newborn. Now, the newborn can't be older than, I think, 30 days, but they can leave a newborn at dozens and dozens, any one of dozens of hospitals all over Utah, no questions asked. And then that child will find an adoptive family thanks to the Division of Child and Family Services.
And no charges will be filed. So if for whatever reason a parent or a guardian of a child thinks they cannot safely care for the child, they can take that child to any hospital in the state of Utah. There are no questions asked, there's no shame, there's no blame, because protecting the child is paramount. There is now a safe haven law in all 50 states, and you can find out more about it at utahsafehaven.org.
Why the first 30 days? Was there a reason by putting that timeline?
There have been a number of different time frames. It varies by state. But I think the thinking behind that was at some point it's no longer safe to you can't drop a 10-year-old. There are different resources available. If you have trouble caring for a child, you've already taken the responsibility of caring for the child. It's a different situation then.
So what are the questions at utahsafehaven.org on the frequently asked questions page? Is can I leave my baby at a fire station or a police station? I think that's a valid question, though, to ask, but it's just hospitals.
Yeah, it's a common misconception, and it may be different in other states, but here in Utah, it must be a hospital. You don't know if that fire station or police station is manned 24/7. You wouldn't want to leave a baby in the middle of the night and not have the next shift come in until 8 the next morning.
So despite the fact that in these cases, it seems like many different ages, that one child was actually old enough to talk, but this is just for newborns.
Yeah,
the safe haven protections are newborns.
Right. You remember years ago there was a case of a woman, young woman, who gave birth, hid the baby in a drawer.
I covered that story, Amanda. I was there that night the baby was found. I was reporting on that story.
And we realized we had a public relations problem at Utah Safe Haven. We need people to know that never needs to happen.
If I recall, she delivered the baby
in secret.
In secret in the family's home.
Didn't tell her parents.
Yeah. And the baby was found deceased.
I have met a young man who was a Safe Haven baby. He was left on the doorstep of a hospital and is now a successful parent with children of his own.
So
perfect result.
Well, I've always felt that Utah Safe Haven law was put in place to save the lives of newborns, to save babies' lives, and to give parents a way to turn their baby over to this. Essentially, it ends up in the custody. The baby ends up in the custody of the state and then is adopted.
Right.
Adopted.
Right. Don't think there's nowhere to turn. If you think you can't figure it out, just take the baby to a hospital.
And you have Child Protective Services if your child is too old to just drop off as well. So there's a resource that the state, again, if you feel unable, if you know somebody that is unable to care for a child, there are resources. It's not just for the newborns, it's for everybody. But if you do have a newborn, hospital, you can legally. Well, you said it beautifully. It was no blame, no shame.
Right. No questions asked.
No questions asked. If you feel like you can't care for that child, drop them off at the hospital.
Thanks, Amanda.
Sure.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. More than 70,000 students are returning to class in Utah's second largest school district this morning in the Davis district. Tooele schools are also welcoming kids back this morning. Xander McBride is a senior and student body president at Clearfield High School. He explains what makes Clearfield stand out from the rest.
We really are known. You can ask any other school. We really are known for our school spirit. Even though we might be losing, but we end up just being still so loud, cheering the loudest, and ultimately everyone's friends here.
Clearfield High is welcoming around 750 new sophomores today. The man shot and killed by the FBI last week has had more than one incident involving a gun at his home. Caden Taylor, a former utility worker, exclusively told KSL TV Robertson pointed an AR-15 at him when he was working on a pole behind his home in 2018.
And then the next thing I know, there's someone coming outside with a firearm and telling us to get the blank off his property.
Police were called, but Robertson was not charged since he thought the workers were trespassing. He was shot and killed by the FBI last week while they were serving an arrest warrant after they say Robertson had made social media posts threatening President Biden. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. 20,000 people in the town of Yellowknife, Canada are being forced out due to the threat of yet another wildfire. ABC News chief meteorologist Ginger Z says this is part of the series of fires that affected Canada this summer.
When you look at the acreage burned, most people don't know what that, estimates or looks like. Basically, across Canada, if you put all the fires and acreage burned, it would be bigger than the size of the state of New York.
Hazy, thick smoke is in the forecast for portions of the Northwest later this week. Your money at this moment, the Dow has lost 34 points. The S&P is also down 2 points, and the NASDAQ is off 44 points. Coming up, we've got at least one more hot day. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
Early mornings can be hard enough, just getting yourself going.
We try to make it a little easier with news and weather from comfortable, trusted anchors and reporters.
Join us on Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9
on KSL News Radio.
Imagine getting ahead of your irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C by treating it with Linzess. Then you could start proactively managing your constipation with belly pain and get ahead of your symptoms. Talk to your doctor about Linzess, linaclotide. Linzess is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually.
Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling.
Imagine, what could relief from IBS-C mean for you? Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
Are you finally ready to lose weight for life? Imagine the new you and feeling good in your body without the discomfort and even pain from the excess weight. Get your consultation today at Revive Men's Health here in Salt Lake City to assess your health and discuss if their safe and effective weight loss treatment with semaglutide or tirzepatide are a good fit for you. They offer treatments for anyone who may need support in their weight loss goals or who may benefit from prescription weight loss support with pricing up to 60% less than the name brand medications. They also offer comprehensive DNA-based testing to help you understand your metabolism to make sustained weight loss, better performance, and fitness a reality. Join our satisfied patients who are maintaining substantial weight loss. Call Revive today and book your consultation. Men, women, and couples are all welcome at Revive. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
With the economy the way it is, you're probably staying put.
So invest in your home, your number one asset, with beautiful custom replacement windows from Advanced Window Products. They're a local Utah company building beautiful vinyl framed and insulated double pane windows for 37 years right here in Salt Lake City. Advanced to keep your family safe, and at Advanced Window Products, it's all custom. And the best part? They're local. They build the windows, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. So there's no middleman markup. You save on the highest quality windows in Utah. Plus, Rocky Mountain and Dominion offer rebates. For a limited time, they offer 60-month 0% financing. And right now, get $2,000 off 10 windows or more. They're working 8 weeks out. So make the call now. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
Across the Wasatch Front, no accidents reported on city streets or major freeways. So whether you're taking I-15, the east or west side belt routes, or the 201 freeway, everyone is traveling at speed at the moment. Need tires? Don't buy them without the money-saving Burt bundle from Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Heather Kelly from the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, another warm one today, topping out at 96 degrees, but we'll start to get some relief as temperatures cool a bit with some chances of scattered thunderstorms later today, and those storms could carry through Monday. Right now, it's 84 degrees and partly sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Dave and Dujanovic. KSL in the classroom. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Welcome back. Welcome back to class. So many kids heading back to school today, including Dave's kiddos in the Davis district.
Yep.
And so we've spent the last day or so doing some sampling of some of the larger districts to figure out like how many teachers need to be hired every year. And it's really significant, the number of teachers that districts need to hire. So then the next question becomes, well, what's the lure?
Difficult profession, but it's also very rewarding.
Let me play that again. This is the superintendent of the Jordan district.
Teaching is a very difficult profession, but it's also very rewarding.
So we want to talk about the upside to teaching.
There's an organization called Envision Utah, Debbie, that has done some great research on this. And what they found is every single year in Utah, we're losing about 3,200 teachers. Statewide, 3,200 teachers. Retirements, just leaving for whatever reason. And then we only have 2,400 teachers that are graduating from college, entering into Utah. So we're actually at a deficit of 800 teachers every single year. This was a couple years back. So it's not surprising at all that the numbers are very high in every district where they have to hire hundreds of teachers to replace these retiring instructors.
Superintendent Anthony Godfrey, Dave, who's the superintendent in the Jordan School District, said they hired 450 teachers for this school year.
We're a growing school district. That growth has tapered off a little bit in the last couple of years. But every year we hire hundreds and hundreds of teachers just because we're a large district. And we've had about the same level of turnover for many years now. Sometimes teachers, they have a spouse that is moving to another state, so their family's moving, or just family circumstances change. There are a number of reasons that people may, people retire. And so we're hiring a lot of teachers every year, and we have a great new batch of teachers this year.
And that's an important part of this story is when we're talking about this school district hired, several hundred new teachers. This is not new teachers in the sense above and beyond fully staffed. It's not like, hey, you know what? We need an additional 450 teachers. We're going to add 450 teachers to this school district above and beyond full staff. No, that is not the case. It is we are replacing teachers. There's some give and take obviously from year to year.
So
but
Jordan District hired 450. We found out that Canyons hired almost 300. Granite, 368. Alpine, again, almost 400. And in your district, Dave, just over 330 teachers. So it's a grand total, just in those 5 districts, 1,800 teachers hired. So clearly there's people who are interested in the job, and we wanted to know why. I mean, why is there such a lure? And I think that the superintendent of the Jordan District did a good job of really pinpointing it for us.
We've really had a good rush of candidates coming in. And I think part of that comes from the allocation from the legislature of taxpayer dollars to help support increased teacher pay. We've appreciated that support, and it's really made an impact on the number of applicants we've had. So we've had a lot of highly qualified applicants coming for these positions, and we're very grateful for it.
It's a $4,200 bump this year, thanks to the legislature. Puts us right about $59,600 a year statewide for average teacher salary.
I was looking at the Davis School District, the teacher pay scale, and it's very, very important to understand how this is broken down. What they say is if you're a first-year teacher, bachelor's degree, you're going to make $51,000. That's what it says on the pay scale. But because the legislature has authorized and allocated money, that actually bumps it up to $59,000 a year. So that $8,000 gap is contingent on the legislature making those continued improvements and funding that consistently. If that were to ever go away, then the base pay would just drop back down to that $51,000 a year.
All of those numbers, it's enough to make me want to sign up.
It's a good chunk. $60,000 is a starting wage for a teacher? That's impressive.
Brittany Bauer, who's the HR licensing specialist with the Jordan School District. So I have a bachelor's degree in journalism with a minor in political science, but, I mean, this is from 1989, Brittany. So would somebody like myself have an alternative path to licensure, or do I have to go back to school for another 4 years and get a teaching degree?
No, you would be good to apply for an associate license, and we can get you into the classroom as soon as that's ready to go.
How long does that take, or what does she have to do?
So on USBE's website, the Utah State Board of Education, they have a apply for an educator license, and you would just submit your transcripts, do a background check, and complete some course modules. And kind of get you in and get you all that information to the state, and they would authorize you to begin teaching in a classroom for up to 3 years while you complete the rest of the licensure requirements.
And then do I have to pay for the rest of the licensure requirements out of my own bank account, or do districts now help fund that?
It does depend on the district. Some districts do have those in-house, or we actually have partnerships with some of our local universities and colleges that will provide those classes at a cheaper rate. And then you can use those classes towards a salary lane change in the future.
Wow.
So what do those 3 years of going to school or classes toward licensure, I'll never say that word right, licensure, what does that look like? What are those 3 years?
So it does depend on how much you've completed with your bachelor's degree. A lot of those endorsements have different class requirements. Math and science do take a little bit more, but there's 5 pedagogy classes that are required that kind of set up your classroom, teach you those basic skills for teaching. And then it's a lot of in the classroom experience that you would do, and we would observe that you have the competencies and work with your mentor teacher to build up those competencies as a teacher and mark those off. So it's really just a lot of in classroom and then a few things outside of the classroom after sports.
I think what's really key here on top of the money, that's obvious. I mean, it really does start to set Utah apart even from other states, because I read up that in other states, teaching salaries have declined while Utah's teaching salaries have increased over time, which is impressive. I mean, it's almost to the point now where it's between $60,000 and $70,000 a year. The other benefit is this. Would I get summers off, Brittany?
If you're in the Apple program, a lot of times you could take your classes during the summer, but you do get summers off from teaching at least.
Wow, that's great. So it's 180 days a year in the classroom, but summers off, and then what, a week or two at around Christmas?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So you get that. It's a 187-day contract here at Jordan.
I think both of those are certainly a lure. Brittany Bauer, thanks for jumping on the line with us here. First day back to school for so many school districts, and the hiring has just gone gangbusters this summer. We've got 1,800 teachers have been hired just in the 5 districts that we took a look at.
One of the struggles about having so many hires, and perhaps we're celebrating it a little bit that we have so many new hires, but that's a bunch of new teachers that have to get up to speed, in the classroom, in the school district. So you're losing, when you're bringing in a lot of these new hires, a lot of times you're losing a lot of experience.
Oh, well, as luck would have it, we're going to speak with the superintendent next week of one of the larger school districts here in the state. So we'll ask him that question. Like, what does it take to get these new teachers, at least to the district? Because they're not all brand new teachers, right? I mean, some of them are first-year teachers, but some of them have been teaching a long time. But what does it take to get up to speed when they're just stepping foot in that particular district's classrooms for the first time? Next, the fairy tale ending of what we thought was a real-life story of the movie The Blind Side is it's going up in flames.
Big Mike, why were you going to the gym?
Because it's warm.
Do you have any place to stay tonight? Don't you dare lie to me.
NFL player Michael Orr has filed a lawsuit against the Toohey family. It took him in, saying he was tricked into signing away his decision-making powers, and it's cost him millions. That's next.
Dave and Dujanovic. Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
Soon, this hot summer will give way to shorter days, beautiful colors, sunshine that seems a little dimmer. And before we know it, we're back to school shopping and cheering for our favorite football team. As the season changes, so will the news and weather. And we'll be here to cover it all. Plus, BYU sports coverage and traffic updates to get you to the game on time. KSL News Radio, your year-round companion for news.
Few things as a parent are as difficult as watching a family member, watching a loved one struggle with addiction. Renaissance Ranch wants to offer you some help, some support, perhaps a little healing and hope. They do it through offering free family support services, weekly online classes open to the public, and you can go to as many of these as you want. At Renaissance Ranch, they know that when you have family members, when you have loved ones involved in the recovery process, the research has shown that you have a much better chance at a positive outcome. Renaissance Ranch has been treating adult males for over 20 years. It's a faith-based and clinically proven program. But again, if you want, as a family member, to learn more how to promote some of that hope and healing, attend one of those free online classes. Again, open to the public. All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com to learn more. renaissanceranch.com.
Locking in an amazing, crazy low, once-in-a-lifetime deal on your terms has never been easier. Just go to General RV during our Bid and Buy sale, August 16th through the 19th. You have the power to name your own price. Just find your favorite RV, submit your best offer, and get a fantastic deal. To make a bid, go to General RV and ask the front desk associate for a bid sheet. In Draper off I-15. Not all offers will be accepted. Accepted offers do not require purchase. See dealer for details.
Lowe's knows how to save pros time and money. Right now, take up to 40% off select bathroom vanities. Plus, get free local truck delivery. And there's more. Get a Kohler White Elongated Water Sense toilet. Now just $199. Was $249. That's a savings of $50. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Vanities offer valid 8/10 through 8/23. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. Kohler offer valid 7/7 through 10/26.
So you'd like to start enjoying your home a little more without climbing the stairs or doing yard work.
How about spacious living in a newly designed planned community with access to activities like golf, pickleball, and even leisurely strolls on beautiful open trails? It's yours with Nilsson Homes. They've been building homes across the Wasatch Front for over 45 years. Now see their latest single-level living community in Davis and Weber County. Brand new, move-in ready homes in the heart of Davis and Weber County, offering all the things you want in low-maintenance, luxury, single-level living. Easy access to just about everything. And best of all, no more stairs, lawnmowers, or yard work. Nilsson Homes has thought of everything, and it's done for you. Take advantage of amazing financing or reverse mortgage options. Nilsson Homes, luxury, low-maintenance living. Visit nilssonhomes.com. That's Nilson homes.com.
The UACPA supports certified professional accountants in Utah through ongoing professional education and leadership development for an ever-changing financial world. Find a CPA at uacpa.org.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Britt Johnson. First, several Utah school districts are back in session this week, welcoming tens of thousands of students back into the classroom. Second, updates about the man shot and killed by the FBI last week, police saying he's had more than one incident involving a gun at his home. Third, threats of more wildfires in Canada, and this will bring hazy conditions back to the northwest. Right now, it's 84 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
I absolutely love this movie, and it is one of the greatest sports movies of all time. The Blind Side.
Big Mike. Hey, my name's Leanne Tui. My kids go to Wingate. You said you were going to the gym? Big Mike, why were you going to the gym?
Because it's warm.
Do you have any place to stay tonight? Don't you dare lie to me.
And what made it good, at least in my view, is I thought it was all a true story. But the fairy tale ending is going up in flames. This week, it's been widely reported that Michael Orr filed a lawsuit saying he's tricked into signing away his decision-making powers, which cost him millions of dollars.
Yeah, it was a conservatorship. And it's heartbreaking to see this family come crashing down over money, obviously, is what the lawsuit is saying, is that millions of dollars were essentially stole from him in regards to the profits of the movie. The Blind Side was extremely popular, made a ton of money, and he's saying, I didn't get a proper cut of those residuals, and that the Tui family made a ton of money, and he didn't get any of it.
Well, plus, I thought he was adopted. I mean...
You're not alone, Deb.
Okay.
Everybody thought he was adopted.
Well, so last night I was looking up his new book on Amazon, and I come across the Tui's book, which was published in, I believe, 2010. The husband and wife published a book. And in the description of the book on Amazon, and I don't know who writes the descriptions of the book, it says adopted. that it uses the word adopted, but now we find out he's in this conservatorship. And he's, as the story went, Michael Orr was 16 years old, didn't have a home. The story claims that he was failing in school.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And his adoptive mom, Leanne Tui, and Michael Orr, here they are describing their relationship on college sports TV.
Michael just needed to be loved. I hugged him for a year before he ever even hugged me back. And I think that was probably the first time in his life that someone that he really in his heart knew that somebody loved him for him.
I felt like I was wounded here, you know. I think that's what it was. I mean, just felt like I was wanted and needed.
The Tuis and Michael Orr, they've been telling this story, Debbie, for years. I've known about this story when he was playing at Ole Miss 15, 17 years ago. I've known about this story. They've told this story a million different times. The real sticking point, and I think what was so hurtful, is when Michael Orr learned that he had never officially been legally adopted. This is what he is claiming, that he was never legally adopted. And it sounds like the Tuis are saying he was more adopted in spirit than legally.
Let's bring in Greg Skordas. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Our KSL legal analyst. there seems to be like a big difference here in with the whole story. What I believed and what now is coming to light. I believed he was adopted. What in the world is this conservatorship that he now claims that he signed into just shortly after he turned 18?
So what happens often, Debbie, is, and you recall the Britney Spears saga, her dad put her into a conservatorship, and that gave him, and the same thing that happened here with the Tuohys, sort of the rights to their person, their conservators, assets, their ability to sign contracts. It may even give them what's called like a power of attorney, so they can even sign their name to documents. But it's a lot different than an adoption, which is just bringing usually a minor into your life, into your family with rights of inheritance and things like that, so that you can manage their decisions until they turn an adult. But a conservatorship can go much longer. I mean, I've done conservatorships for senior citizens who have some level of dementia, and their family just wants to make sure that their assets are taken care of and that someone can sign for them and manage their portfolio and their monies. And that's what apparently was done with him.
Part of the concern, or I think from the outside looking in, here's a 17-year-old, 16, 17-year-old, comes from a really rough family background, was homeless, failing in school. This family brings him in. Is it common at all that they would view this conservatorship as a way to protect him? Because obviously he was a high-profile athlete, one of the top recruits in the nation, that the family was doing this in his best interest, knowing that he had a lot of contracts and money potential without the family's support on the back end. So this was a way for them to help him? I guess that's the best spin on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best spin that the family could put on it, Dave. But there are other ways to do that, like getting him a money manager, an agent, people that can help him setting up trusts for his benefit, not necessarily setting up a conservatorship so that the parents manage and really have control over his assets. And in this case, we're talking about the rights to a movie, which grossed something like $300 million. And I think that they had like a percentage royalties in the 1 or 2%. So that could be a substantial amount of money that he probably would have been entitled to at least a part of. And based on what he's claiming was this conservatorship, he didn't get much at all.
Well,
and they did.
Well, my read of this too, Greg, is that he's still in this conservatorship, and he wants to get out. Now the family's saying, well, we'll let you out now. But I'm like, well, why in the world? First of all, I thought a conservatorship was more geared toward people who might have some sort of, mental problems that they need some sort of guidance. Not somebody who's a healthy 18-year-old athlete who's college-bound and NFL-bound. This doesn't seem to kind of fit that description of what a conservatorship is. And why in the world would he still be in this thing?
Yeah, because he's now in his 30s, and that's exactly what I think his attorneys are alleging, that, wait a minute, we didn't even know this was a conservatorship. I'm sure he signed something that was a conservatorship agreement. He was probably a kid at the time. He probably didn't read it. Yeah. Right. And, of course, he's of age where he can contract and make decisions on his own. But you could imagine an 18-year-old kid with stars in his eyes playing for Ole Miss and potentially going into the pros someday is probably signs whatever people put in front of him. And probably should have had independent representation, had somebody explain to him what it was. And now he's going to be released from the conservatorship. But you're right. There was no reason for it to have continued. Even by its terms, it was supposed to end when he turned 25 or upon court order. You would expect it to be whichever of those came first, but apparently that wasn't the case.
Greg, part of what makes this so fascinating to me is over the last 17 years, they have shown up together at events, fundraisers. They've told their story 1 million times on television together. This is not just the Tuohys telling this story. This is Michael Orr telling this story, and they've talked about great love and affection about each other over the years.
Yeah, I mean, and it was made for a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a story that was too beautiful to be true, and it did make for a good movie, although I didn't see it. But it may have been based on a little bit of smoke and mirrors. We don't know, and it's sad that these people who were so close at some time are now so far apart. But unfortunately, the courts are going to have to sort out what the arrangement was and whether or not he was duped by them.
Well, and Dave, you talked about, thanks, Greg, appreciate it. Greg Scortis, our legal analyst, weighing in on the Michael Oher lawsuit against the Tui family, which took him in while he was 16 years old, and then eventually he went on to play in the NFL. I mean, part of the reason, Dave, I thought, well, maybe the reason he was showing up with the family all these years and expressing so much love, and they were interacting together and telling their story over and over, is because he thought he was adopted. I mean, he thought he was adopted. And I'm telling you, the Tui's book that they published together on Amazon, in the book description, again, I don't know who says the word adopted. And I thought he was adopted too. And then he finds out, no, he signed into a conservatorship. Imagine the difference between feeling all of those years that you were adopted by a family, and then you learn, if that is indeed the case, then you learn it wasn't an adoption after all.
To me, if you were treated like a son, if you felt like a son, a little piece of paper does not change that. If he was loved, if he was cared for, he was 18 years old. Maybe there was some stickiness as far as like if you can adopt somebody. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you were loved, if you were treated as a son, if they refer to you as a son, I think it's pretty hard for me to think that everything is ruined now because a piece of paper wasn't signed.
It's 10:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. U.S. mortgage rates just hit their highest level in 21 years. The average rate for a 30-year mortgage now sits at 7.09%. Rates have been spiking during the Federal Reserve's rate hiking campaign in an attempt to tame inflation. One Hawaiian organization has created a way for potential donors to directly send support to individuals and families in Maui. BYU student Bailey Honda's family is on the list, and he tells KSL TV his house is in ashes.
All of those cinder blocks out there, those hollow tiles, just standing up, that's it.
He's now encouraging people to read the stories on that list and give consistently.
We can't just have people helping out for a week and say, I've done my part. These people are going to be dealing with this for a long time.
You can find that list on ksltv.com. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Airport officials at Palm Beach International Airport are blaming an airport rental car service after a mix-up caused a father and son to mistakenly drive their rental car across the tarmac and several active commercial runways.
Officials at the airport blaming this on the rental car company Go Rentals for not escorting the rental car off airport property. The airport has now revoked Go Rentals' permit to operate at the airport. They're also blaming Atlantic Aviation, suspending the security clearances of employees who were involved, also requiring all Atlantic Aviation employees to undergo safety training.
ABC's Ari Haight reporting. Your money at this moment. The Dow has gained 19 points. The S&P has also gained. It's up 6 points, but the NASDAQ is in the red, 10 points. Coming up, we've got scattered storms on the way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
What do you need to hear in the morning to feel ready for the day?
Important news that happened overnight, the traffic you'll hit on the roads.
You'll be ready for your day with us.
Join Utah's Morning News 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
You've been following my SOTA weight loss journey for almost 20 months now. I lost 37 pounds in the first 12 weeks. Amazing, feel different, look different, able to act different. And all of it came through just the power and simplicity of SOTA. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is. You've got that weekly one-on-one coaching that I love to talk about, that accountability piece. And not just accountability, but insight. When you have a question, you're not sure, you're hesitating, you just text, you just call. You have access to your own nutritionist to keep you right on pace and keep everything going. It's also a whole 100% 360-degree look at how you approach nutrition. Getting your body the right energy, the right nutrients at the right time does make all the difference, and it's part of what makes SOTA so successful, not just for me, but for countless other people. As I said, I'm 20 months down the road, right on path, right where I've been for almost 20 months now. Same thing can happen for you. As I always say, when it comes to your soda weight loss journey, there's no time to lose. There's only time to win. So get winning. Start with Soda Weight Loss today. Check it out at sodaweightloss.com, SOTA weightloss.com.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
Attention smart homeowners. You don't have to fall for flashy promises and companies that don't even prove their work. At Your Service Pros uses third-party verification software called MeasureQuick to ensure your new HVAC system is installed correctly. This ultimate game changer in the HVAC industry lets you, the homeowner, have proof of how your system was installed. At Your Service Pros utilizes our Bluetooth tools to upload all of your system's information into MeasureQuick. We rely on data-driven insights to properly commission, optimize, and fine-tune your HVAC system for peak performance, improving your family's comfort, lowering your utility bills, and extending the life of your HVAC system. With rebates and tax credits available totaling more than $7,500 on a dual fuel heating and cooling system, it is now more important than ever that your HVAC system be installed correctly. So call us today at 801-YOUR-PRO. That's 801-YOUR-PRO. Have the peace of mind of saving up to 50% on your new system and knowing it's installed correctly by calling 801-YOUR-PRO.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. Here's Heather Kelly.
We do have an exit ramp shut down right now. This is from southbound I-215 on the West Belt to head west on California Avenue. Now you can make a left-hand turn and turn east, but that westbound exit ramp lanes are blocked due to that hazmat spill. Other than that, you've got pretty good speeds across the Wasatch Front. We did have an accident earlier, southbound I-15, just after 106 South in Sandy, but it looks like that's been cleaned up or at least moved out of the way. With over 30 plus specialties in multiple locations across Utah, Revere has you covered for all your health needs. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner for life. Online at reverehealth.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. It looks like we're still in this warm spell with highs in the upper 90s. We will move down into the 80s over the weekend as thunderstorms move in. Some arriving in areas as early as this afternoon. Right now it's 88 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
I was on the Better Business Bureau website last night, Dave, and I thought, this is something I want to talk to Dave about. Here's the headline. It's BBB tip. How to take advantage of tax-free shopping days. And I was like, oh, they have a list of states that have these tax-free shopping days where you can go out and you can buy stuff and there's no sales tax on it. And so I went to the list of states, and guess what state is not on it?
Us?
Should we be?
Should we be on the no sales tax
for a couple
holiday
of days? Yeah, let me tell you. Let me pitch this to you and how this works.
Okay.
So lots of different states do this, from Alabama to Florida to Iowa to Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas. So you get the idea. There's tons of states that offer at least a couple of days of a sales tax-free holiday. Florida has a ton of tax-free holidays. It's not all year long. Like, you don't get 365 days of sales tax-free shopping.
There are some states that do this, though.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Let's save that list for just a moment, because I don't want everybody driving up to Montana right now. I want them to stay put, listen to this, because that's one of the, they don't have a state sales tax in Montana. But so, for example, In Alabama, and this really made sense to me. In the month of February, they have a couple of days where you can buy hurricane supplies, like to get your family prepped. And I really like this because we've done a lot with emergency preparedness on our show, where you can spend up to $1,000 and it's not taxed, at least sales tax. In Connecticut, during like the last week of August, they waived the tax on clothing and footwear up to a certain dollar amount.
Back to school stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
A lot of states waive the tax during the back to school shopping season, so families, pay a little less. In Florida, there's a month in June, which is typically like when stores put baby items on sale. There's a baby item sale season. You didn't know that. So June in Florida, you can get diapers and children's clothing tax-free. Tax-free in Florida. You can also buy, Energy Star appliances tax-free in the month of June in Florida, which would save you kind of a bundle of money. It's up to $3,000. So it's not like, go out and buy $10,000 worth of new Energy Star appliances for your kitchen, and we're going to waive all the tax. But it's up to $3,000. But that would save you a couple $100.
Okay, now
you get the idea.
Now you've explained it. It's silly. Like that makes no sense to me. Taxes are so hard to keep track of anyway. If now I have to find the 4 days out of the year or the 2 days out of the year where I have to go buy certain items, sure, there's probably some people that will benefit from that. I think largely people just buy stuff when they need it. That seems way overly complicated.
Well, it sounds to me like it's a way to also stimulate the economy. Get people out shopping and save them a few bucks. Maybe it is a little just too much goodwill. Rusty Cannon of the Utah Taxpayers Association. Is it silly to have sales tax-free holidays?
Well, thanks for having me on. And in short, the answer is yes, it is silly. It is not a good idea. And we can explain why.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so we have a saying that we use often when we talk to policymakers that the tax base should not be used as a Christmas tree to hand out gifts to what is politically popular, because eventually you end up with no tax base. In this case, you're talking about sales tax. And so if you start carving out and doing these types of things, there's an inherent problem that all taxation is a function of government spending. So essentially you're going to say, okay, government's going to continue to spend, but we're going to then stop funding it for a little bit. All you're doing is digging a deeper hole and likely causing higher tax rates in the future for what we would call a bit of a gimmick.
But here in Utah, it seems like we're always with a surplus. We have billions of dollars over the last several years in surpluses. We have a huge rainy day fund. Is this a way just to maybe cut taxes a little bit?
It can be, but it's temporary and it doesn't last. What the better thing to do, in which the state has been doing, is permanent tax relief, right? Income tax reductions have been the most recent, and those are going to continue. You're going to see more proposals of that come to where we start to hand more of that surplus back to taxpayers on a permanent basis. That's what makes the difference.
Rusty Cannon of the Utah Taxpayers Association weighing in right now on my pitch for a sales tax-free holiday, which just went wah, wah, wah. 5 states, though, without sales taxes: Alaska, Delaware, my favorite state next to Utah, Montana, New Hampshire, and Oregon. Is it silly that they don't have state sales tax at all there?
Well, no, that's just a long-term structure. They have like a 2-legged stool. We have a 3-legged stool, right? We have income, sales, and property. And they don't have that sales tax. That's just a different way of doing it on a permanent basis. But as far as holidays go, it's pretty gimmicky. Florida did one recently on gas tax. It does not make a difference in the long run. Permanent rate reduction is better.
Florida has, from the list here, has a lot of sales tax holidays. I mean, they've got quite a few. I didn't even count them all up. There were so many of them, Rusty. So basically, this is a big no from the Taxpayers Association. I shouldn't run up to Capitol Hill and say, let's do a tax-free holiday so we can all get sales tax-free generators for, in case there's an emergency or something like that. Or or supplies in case of an emergency?
Mm-hmm. Well, you could argue if an emergency is coming that there would be some valid argument as to, okay, let's give a little relief. If we all have to run out and get supplies for an earthquake or a hurricane, that's a different story. But just handing them out willy-nilly is not a good idea.
And Rusty, to be clear, for these states that have no sales tax or perhaps they have no income tax, just to be clear, they're still paying taxes. They'll pay a higher property tax. They make it up on the other end, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you'll pay far higher property taxes in the zero income tax states. But on the flip side, you have a lot more upside on your income. But yes, they do make it up with the other two legs of the stool.
They're still going to get theirs, is what I'm saying. The government's still going to get theirs.
Rusty,
government doesn't stop.
Well, there's no such thing as free 99. Thanks a lot, Rusty. You absolutely just ruined my day by calling my pitch silly. And Dave, you seconded that.
I think I called it silly, and he agreed with me.
You're taking credit.
I was the first one. No,
you were the first one through the wall.
No, but there was a qualification, Debbie, and maybe this is where both sides could win. If there is an impending hurricane or something that we're expecting, perhaps you could have a short moratorium. Mm-hmm. If we had a big earthquake and we needed huge amounts of repairs, perhaps the legislature could say, you know what, we're going to pause the sales tax on all rebuilding supplies. Perhaps they could do that. But again, these arbitrary days that they choose, hey, these 2 days in August before school, go ahead and buy your Trapper Keeper.
I tried. Next, there's a new KSL 5 television report about the Provo man shot and killed during an FBI arrest warrant last week, just hours before President Biden's arrival here in Utah. Now, a Google fiber worker is speaking out. He says he was installing fiber in Provo when Craig Robertson came after him a couple of years ago.
And then the next thing I know, there's someone coming outside with a firearm and telling us to get the blank off his property.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Hey, stay right here for more of Dave and Dujanovic.
And tomorrow morning, come back here for news, traffic updates, and reliable weather.
Join us to have a listen. Tim and Amanda.
Your morning companions for news.
Summer isn't over yet. Get 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for a year on a new day and night air conditioning system.
Don't put it off. Summer isn't over yet. Have a new day and night air conditioner and furnace system installed with 0 down, 0 interest, and 0 payments for 12 months. Enjoy savings and a cool, comfortable home for a full year before you even have to make a payment. Go to dayandnightcomfort.com for a day and night elite dealer near you. The difference is day and night.
Hey, I'm Jake Harward, and I grow corn. But what happened to our music? Where's the banjo?
Jake, what about our extra wet winter and spring?
Yeah, we've had a lot of moisture. Our reservoirs are brimming full, and you could certainly say that the bountiest harvest we're already enjoying is heaven sent too. Stop by today for our now in season corn, watermelon, cantaloupe, peaches, tomatoes, raspberries, and more.
All heavenly, with or without the banjo.
Fresh from our family's farm to your family's dinner table.
Harward Farms.
Hi, this is Cameron Rising. Growing up, summer break was the best, but I've learned that a lot of kids don't feel the same. That's because summer means their school breakfast and lunch won't be available. What's awesome is the food bank helps. Join me and Les Olson IT by giving food, time, or money. Take your donations to any Les Olson IT branch or the food bank. And find more info at lesolson.com/food. Let's support our community together.
When you crash your car, you get it fixed. When your computer crashes, you get a new one. But what will you do if you've been saving in a 401k or an IRA and the market crashes? If you're in your 30s or 40s, you'll be just fine. But if you're in or near retirement, you could be in trouble. Mike Stevens and his team at Capital Wealth Advisors are here to help. They can run a risk analysis to see if you're too heavily invested in the market. Don't let the ups and downs of Wall Street control you or your retirement dreams. Call 801-210-5500 today to schedule your risk analysis with Mike Stevens and the team at Capital Wealth Advisors. That's 801-210-5500. Crashes happen. Question is, are you ready? Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor.
Are you or someone you take care of as their caregiver living with Alzheimer's disease? This study just might be for you. Consider participating in a Athira's clinical trial exploring a novel repair and regenerative approach to Alzheimer's disease. Pantheon Clinical Research in Salt Lake City is looking for people with mild to moderate dementia, 55 to 85 years old. A consistent caregiver or support person is necessary for the conduct of this study. This study is a late-stage clinical study of an investigational drug for the treatment of mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease. Pantheon Clinical Research has over 30 years' experience with clinical trials. They conduct their business with professionalism, efficiency, and integrity. Contact Pantheon Clinical Research in Salt Lake City today. Again, call Pantheon Clinical Research today at 385-281-0550. That's 385-281-0550. Or go to pantheonclinical.com. That's pantheonclinical.com.
2 years ago, Americans watched in horror as a crisis unfolded at the Kabul airport.
There's desperation and anguish.
More than 80,000 Afghans have since arrived in America, but this story is still unfolding. I'm Andrea Smartin. In my new podcast, Stranger Becomes Neighbor, we'll find out what happens to these new arrivals in our communities. Who would help our newest neighbors? Follow us at kslpodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Britt Johnson. First, U.S. mortgage rates just hit their highest level in 21 years. The average rate for a 30-year mortgage now sits at a 7.09%. Second, a Hawaiian organization has created a way for potential donors to directly send support to individuals and families in Maui. Third, a mix-up at a Florida airport caused a father and son to mistakenly drive their rental car across the tarmac and several active commercial runways. Right now, it's 88 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, we knew that a Provo man who was shot and killed during an FBI arrest warrant just hours before President Biden's arrival in Utah a week ago. We knew that the FBI was at his home on that morning, those early morning hours, because he'd left death threats for President Biden and other elected officials all over social media. But what we didn't know until now, and thanks to the reporting of Daniela Rivera of KSL 5 TV, Dave, is that a few years ago, there was a Google Fiber worker, actually 2 workers, on a utility pole who say they were installing fiber in Provo when Craig Robertson came after them in 2018.
The power pole was located in his backyard. We knocked on the door numerous times. We rung the doorbell numerous times. And then the next thing I know, there's someone coming outside with a firearm and telling us to get the blank off his property. He flagged actually both of us. The muzzle did cross both of our paths, which is when we immediately were like, yes, sir, we will. We left our ladder set up and everything, and we just evacuated the property and immediately called the police. I've never climbed down a ladder faster in my life.
That sounds absolutely terrifying. Daniela Rivera joins us right now from KSL 5 Television. This is something that he had forgotten about until Robertson was in the news last week. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. He no longer works in that job. He said that was a very scary, unexpectedly scary day on the job, but he had moved on with life. And it wasn't until Robertson's name surfaced in the news last week that he realized the connection, that was the same person who had pulled a gun on him 5 years ago.
So Caden Taylor is this man's name, and he was working on Google Fiber, putting it for connecting it up for a neighbor or something like that. And he's on a ladder. He's got a colleague there, and they're trying to do their jobs, right? They're just doing their jobs, and then take the story from there, Daniela. What did they describe happened next?
Well, he did want us to note that, they accessed this yard using public easement. They weren't trespassing. This is just how it works. When you have a utility pole in your yard that services the neighborhood, from time to time, utility workers might need to access that. He said they followed policy. They knocked on the door. They rang on the door. to give a heads up that they were there. And he said his primary concern on this job was aggressive dogs. They were always very cautious entering yards because that was a safety concern for them. But when there was no answer, they went to go about their work, and they were surprised shortly after that, they say, to be confronted by Craig Robertson with a handgun. And he said it wasn't just down at his side. He wasn't just carrying it. He had was, as they described, waving it around, flagging them with the muzzle multiple times. And he told us he's pro Second Amendment. He considers himself a responsible gun owner himself. He's not uncomfortable with guns, but he was very concerned about the behavior with that gun on that day.
So in your story, they get out of there. They even leave their ladders set up. They call the cops. What do the cops do?
According to the Provo police report, when the officers show up, they knock on the door to see what's going on, and Robertson met them at the door with an AR-15 and was asked to put the gun down and refused. That officer continued talking to Robertson through the door, was eventually able to de-escalate the situation, get him to agree to put down his weapon and come outside. Caden Taylor praised the de-escalation efforts by that officer. He said it was a bit of a standoff for about 20, 30 minutes. It did end peacefully that day.
I'm wondering, Danielle, and you may or may not know the answer to this, but I'm wondering, typically when the FBI will go into another jurisdiction, they will deconflict the case with the local law enforcement agency, and in this case, it would have been Provo PD, who responded that day in 2018 to Caden's desperate phone call after Mr. Robertson came out the door waving that handgun at him. So I wonder if the FBI was aware of this 2018 report where Robertson then answered the door with an AR-15 to greet Provo cops. That would be certainly something I'd be curious about. Have you been in contact with the FBI at all? Are they saying anything more about this case?
You know, they haven't released a lot of details about what happened prior to their attempt to arrest Robertson or after. It is an ongoing investigation, so we don't know whether they were aware of this prior interaction. I will say that this information was not available with a quick check of public court records for our team because there were no charges.
Okay.
So we found out about this through a public information request to the Provo Police Department. Our producer, Annie Knox, sent that in the day this happened. Just, hey, were there prior interactions? And that's how we found out about this. I'm not sure what the FBI agents that day were aware of. However, talking to Caden Taylor yesterday, he said, given my firsthand experience in 2018, and then looking at the rhetoric, the violent posts online, he said, I can understand why the FBI took the approach they did when trying to arrest him.
Caden Taylor must have felt like his life was in danger. Did he speak to that?
He did. He did say that it was scary. He felt his life was in danger, and he mentioned it really had a lot to do with the position of the firearm for him. He had said, if he was just coming out here to talk to us and holding it or had it down at his side, he felt they could have talked through it and de-escalated. But it was seeing the gun, the end of that gun, waving around, flagging him and his coworker, where they felt there was heightened risk for both of them, and they got off property as quickly as possible and called police.
KSL Television's Daniela Rivera has been tracking the latest developments. The Provo man shot and killed last week during an FBI arrest warrant and search warrants that they were serving on his home just hours before the president was set to land here in Utah. He had made a series of online death threats against the president and other elected officials. And just real quickly, Daniela, we only have about 30 seconds left. It sounds as though prosecutors in Utah County did not pursue charges against Mr. Robertson for that incident involving those Google Fiber workers in 2018.
They didn't. While that could be considered a misdemeanor, prosecutors told us yesterday that because he was on his property and because he told police he thought they were trespassing, they didn't think they'd get a jury to convict him, and that's why they didn't file.
Daniela Rivera, thank you for joining us. Thanks for the report, KSL 5 Television.
Yeah, you can find much more information at ksltv.com. Daniela's stories are posted there. She's been tracking this story since the day it happened. Next, we're going to dedicate a full hour of our show to helping Maui. We're going to go live to Maui to get the latest update on the situation there. We are also going to speak to an expert on what to do if you're in a situation and like what they're having now and your cell phone just doesn't work. There are workarounds involving your cell phone. And so we're going to get into that and a lot more in the 11 o'clock hour.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour, the Tooele School District is welcoming back students today. Superintendent Mark Ernst says they've seen a lot of growth.
At one school, even in the elementary, we increased 120 kids, and our kindergartens are really booming. Yesterday, we interviewed for 5 new kindergarten students. We were fully staffed for all of our kindergartens in June. August 1st, they started coming, and so we've had to kind of pivot a little bit and hire some more teachers.
He says he's excited to get students back into the learning routine. A lawsuit against Park City ski guides over the death of a California man last March.
46-year-old Ryan Barr was killed in a backcountry avalanche in Weber Canyon last year. Now Barr's wife is filing a lawsuit alleging Park City Powder Cats and heli ski workers were negligent and caused her husband's death. Caroline Barr is asking for damages for the loss of her husband and his income. The guide company says Barr signed a waiver and that these claims are barred under Utah's inherent risk of skiing statute. Kate Davis, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The United Nations Security Council held a meeting today on growing concerns with North Korea's human rights record. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk tells the council there's an increased rate of repression on fundamental rights for many of the citizens.
According to our information, people are becoming increasingly desperate as informal markets and other coping mechanisms are dismantled, while their fear of state surveillance, arrest, interrogation, and detention has increased.
Other concerns include forced labor service, widespread hunger and starvation rates, shortages of medication, and the closing of vital economic markets inside the country. Your money at this moment, a little bit of a mixed bag here. The Dow is up 3 points, the S&P is up 6 points, but the NASDAQ has lost 1.3 points. Coming up, clear skies, but changes on the way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
We have enough people running around Broadcast House at 4 in the morning to field a football team.
Producers, reporters, the traffic team, and us.
This is Tim and Amanda.
Join us each morning from 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
With our roots in northern Utah, Holy Cross Hospital has a legacy of caring to help every person be whole and healthy. Find us at 5 Holy Cross Hospital locations and more than 45 clinics along the Wasatch Front. Learn more at holycrossutah.org.
At Holy Cross Hospital, we're honored to carry the legacy of our namesake and equally honored to care for northern Utah's vibrant communities. Find us at 5 Holy Cross Hospital locations and more than 45 clinics along the Wasatch Front. Learn more at holycrossutah.org.
Warmer weather is here, and Skinny Utah would like to help you shape up for summer by losing 20 pounds in the next 40 days. That's right, 20 pounds in as little as 40 days. That's the Skinny Utah promise. Skinny Utah will customize every plan because no two bodies are alike. Their proven program is 100% natural. There are never any prepackaged meals or shakes to buy, and they never use dangerous drugs or hormones. Skinny Utah will teach you how to eat real food you buy at the store. Take the first step to a healthier new you and schedule your free weight loss strategy session at skinnyutah.com. A $300 value, absolutely free. Skinny Utah has offices in Draper, Orem, Centerville, and St. George, and they're extending their couple special, where the second person is half price. Schedule your free weight loss strategy session today at skinnyutah.com. That's skinnyutah.com. At Skinny Utah, you have nothing to lose but the weight.
Jeff Kaplan.
I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Granite Credit Union's high-yield savings certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
Well, good news. They've been able to clean up that hazmat situation on I-215's westbound off-ramp at California Avenue. That was on the southbound side. Looks like now you are able to make that turn to go westbound. Traffic is getting through the area, and right now we have a delay-free drive on all the Valley freeways. When it comes to trusted, affordable auto care, nobody does it better than Burt Brothers Tire and Service. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather. As we move into the afternoon, we may start seeing some scattered thunderstorms, and those will pick up a little more over the next several days. They'll also help cool things down a bit for the weekend because our high today is 96. Right now, it's 88 degrees and sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
The Maui Recovery, special coverage on KSL News Radio.
The next hour of our show dedicated to learning more about what's going on Maui and also helping to raise money to help those victims who are trying so desperately to find loved ones, family members who are certainly out of their homes, living in hotels and in campsites. 111 people have died in the wildfires. That is just the number we know of. Officials say they're still searching very badly hit areas. That number will rise.
Hundreds still missing. And we want to be able to help as much as we can here at KSL in Bonneville. We have a relief fund set up for Maui, Bonneville Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund. 100% of the money that we receive is going to go to the Hawaii Community Foundation, which is a nonprofit directly serving Maui. All you have to do is go to KSLNewsRadio.com and click on the link.
We've already heard stories, horrible stories, just heartbreaking stories of homeowners losing everything. Well, Jeff Kaplan, his afternoon news, he often does his minute of news. And the recent minute of news that I heard is just absolutely compelling about what is going on there regarding the attempted land grab by investors. I want to listen to that. I want to listen to what's going on there first, thanks to our very own Jeff Kaplan. And then in a moment, we're going to go live to Maui and speak to a resident.
We are nestled safely among the mountains here in Utah, shrouded from hurricanes and horrific flooding. Tornadoes are the rarest of events, and when such disasters happen, they hardly ever reach the scale of destruction seen elsewhere. FEMA just ranked the states, and we're number 49, next to last in federal disaster spending because geography is our friend. And it was the best friend of Lahaina. With warm breezes but perfect temperatures gave way to a hurricane, a spark, and now the death tolls in the triple digits. We've all seen the devastation and the heart-wrenching anguish, but do you know what real estate developers see? Opportunity. Because this husk of a town resting on the water's edge might be the perfect place to build huge hotels, multi-million-dollar condos, a shopping mall or two. They could finish the job the fire started, wipe the community off the map, and make a mint. Not that it could happen. Everybody's expecting it. Most all of the 13,000 local residents will be priced out of their homes, and that is why Hawaii's governor, Josh Green, is taking quick action to prevent a land grab. Listen closely.
So I've actually reached out to our Attorney General to explore options to do a moratorium on any sales of properties that have been damaged or destroyed.
A moratorium against selling damaged property is a shaky proposition. The only question is which big money developer is going to be bold enough to take the state to court, hoping to take Lahaina's fire-stricken grief and turn it into a windfall.
And Debbie, we have seen already on Instagram and social media accounts of folks that have already, within days of this happening, being approached by investors.
Okay, I gotta tell you guys, I am so frustrated with investors and realtors calling the families who lost their home, offering to buy their land. How dare you do that to our community right now? Since yesterday, that multiple families that I know personally were reached out and offered money from investors and realtors. Shame on you.
Sierra Levitt is a resident on Maui. You joined the show yesterday, and the stories that you were telling us are just so compelling, Sierra. We absolutely needed to have you back to launch our special hour of coverage. Let's begin with the story of these investors who are allegedly swooping in to buy up property right now. What are you hearing?
Hi, guys. I've been hearing all those same things. The video that was just played, I have seen that video many times. And to me, I think it also is horrible, especially during a time where people are going through shock and through so much tragedy. And I know so many of these people personally whose homes have burned down in our community, and they aren't in a stable state of mind to even be having those conversations yet, which I think is so inconsiderate and rude. And a lot of these people also work paycheck to paycheck because living in Hawaii is expensive. And so when someone could be offering a lot of money, that could be appealing, to be helping right there in the moment. But I do not think it is fair for big companies to be taking advantage of these people during this hard time.
I would also think that there's a certain level of desperation right now, having lost everything,
Exactly.
and they start waving around huge amounts of money, and the temptation, I would imagine, especially as you said, with this fragile emotional state of mind that you're going through as a community, the desperation could very well lead you into making that deal.
Totally. Yeah, you're just not emotionally stable to have those normal conversations yet, because you could say yes in the moment and then a week later be like, what did I just do? Once you starting to the cloud starts moving out of your mind, you could totally regret your decision at this time.
Sierra Levitt lives on Maui, is calling us live from there right now. Tell us what it's like today, Sierra.
Today I'm back on West Side. That's where my home is. I'm 10 minutes from the fire. And there is little to no service. I'm currently in Napili Market parking lot, which has a Starlink satellite Wi-Fi that you can hook up to. And it also is one of the big hubs for supplies. So there's already people out here coming to get supplies for the day. There's already people out here receiving food for the day and shelter. It looks everywhere. There's just big base camps, throughout West Maui for people to come for shelter and supplies and food. And thankfully they have a couple Wi-Fi satellite stations set up for people to have communication on this side.
Sierra, I know you had mentioned this yesterday when we talked to you, but as Maui is trying to rebuild, and so much of that economy is dependent on tourism, what does the future of work look like in Maui?
So on West Side, they have asked, our governor and mayor have asked that we keep West Side closed for tourists, just as respect during this building time and during the respect of people who have lost everything. But our state and our island, survive off of tourism. Mine and my husband's jobs are all tourism jobs as well. But our governor and mayor have asked to tell everyone, but the rest of Maui is open, and we're going to need, the visitors to continue to come back to the other side. Wailea and Kihei's open, North Shore is open, and to help come and support, all of our other residents and locals, because we will need that support to continue to live in the state and to support our locals to survive during this time.
When would it be an appropriate time to return to Maui to vacation? Again, obviously, in support, we want to be sensitive, but is there a sense of when it would be appropriate to start supporting the economy in that way?
My personal opinion, I said to people, I'm like, you should just wait at least a month, just to like give people a break, because a lot of people from West Side who've lost homes have had to go find places to live or hotels to stay in on the other sides of the island. And while they're working through other housing options now on West Side, more things are becoming available to help those in need. And so I just told people, come in September. Like, don't wait that long, but West Side will be closed for a very long time. But come to the other side so that you can still support us.
Sierra, before we let you go, just one final question. What are the needs right now of the victims of this wildfire?
They're still changing. I think they're going to need a lot of emotional support now. And right now we're working on housing. We're also working on schooling for children as well, because only one school on the west side will be open. We have 3 to 4 other schools that are going to be closed. One of them completely burned down. One of them's just, wind damage. So they will be open eventually, but they just don't know. So now we have all these kids who have nowhere to go for school and no supplies. So at this time, Maui Prep, actually, they are here in Napili, and they are trying to take in as many students as they can and also be the supplies hub. So yesterday, I had friends in Utah who were able to fly 32 suitcases over here full of school supplies and backpacks that we were able to provide the funds for to help support those students that are starting school next week.
Sierra Levitt, best of luck. Thank you for joining us. Lives on Maui and has been able to provide a heartbreaking but very vivid, descriptive situation of what's going on right now.
They need our help. So go to kslnewsradio.com, scroll up to the top of the page. There's a yellow rectangle button. You can donate to the Maui Strong Relief Fund. 100% of the money that we receive through that fund will go to the Hawaii Community Foundation, which is a nonprofit which is directly serving the people on Maui. Again, that's kslnewsradio.com. You just heard from Sierra that she's having some problems with her cell phone, that she had to go to a special area in order to get, connection so she could call the show live. We so appreciate it. There are a lot of areas that get hard hit. This is obviously a horrible situation. And then all of a sudden, our cell phones just go down, or we can't get a phone call out to our loved ones. We are going to have tech expert Earl Foote on the show in 3 minutes. He has an action plan for us on things that you can do to your cell phone that will actually give you the ability to communicate with your loved ones in situations like this.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Did you know Utah has just one all-news station in the morning?
It's this one. Weekday mornings between 5 and 9.
Start your days with us. We're Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Your morning companions for news.
Classrooms are filling up again. Bus drivers are learning their routes. And teachers are breaking out homework.
Turn to page 12.
Listen, with so many kids back outside, go easy on the gas pedal. Take a few extra seconds to look for bikes and kids in backpacks. Help make the start of school
Quiet down.
a little nicer.
That's better.
A friendly reminder from everyone at KSL Radio.
I remember when I was speaking to the owners of Renaissance Ranch, Christine and Preston. Preston's her son. And they were discussing the importance and their philosophy of how to help folks that are dealing and struggling with addiction. They said, you know what, Dave, one of the most important things that we do, and we realized this early on, is to get family, get loved ones involved in the recovery process, because the research has shown if you have loved ones involved in the recovery process, then the chances of a more positive outcome skyrockets. Much better outcomes when you do have that support, the healing, the hope for families that is out there. But you may not know what to do or what role you can play if you have a loved one that is struggling with addiction. So they want to offer some free weekly online classes available at renaissanceranch.com. They're open to the public, and you can go to as many of these as you want, but they're going to help teach you the perspective of what these loved ones are going through. Classes are taught from a spousal, parental, and personal perspective. They also offer a women's support group and a couples recovery group. All you have to do is go to renaissanceranch.com. It's free, online open classes, open to the public. Find out more at renaissanceranch.com.
Hey guys, Alex and Scott for Alpine Home Medical. You've heard us talking about and singing the praises of Alpine Home Medical for years, because if you're talking about getting home medical supplies, these are the folks who are going to do it for you at the best price. They're local. They know how to treat their customers. Scott, we've had a lot of experiences with the folks at Alpine Home Medical over the years.
And they really do know how to treat you, because it can be a scary thing. You go online, you don't know what to get. You're not sure about things. You walk in the store and they're going to take care of you from the minute you get there. You're going to sit down with a professional. They're going to work through your insurance. They're going to get you the right supplies for yourself. I have a CPAP machine. I've been in, I've done this, and they're incredible, but it's not just when you're in the store, it's after you leave. They're going to take care of you, call, make sure everything's just right. These medical devices are important, and you want to feel safe, and you want to feel secure, and you want to feel you got the right thing to take care of yourself.
It's everything, too. The power scooters, the CPAP machines, any home medical supplies, they're going to be able to take care of you. And they've got great news. Brand new store in Tooele. They've been trying to expand to Tooele for years, and then here they are now. Go to alpinehomemedical.com to find a location near you. We're excited to see you out there in Tooele, folks. alpinehomemedical.com.
Hey, Derek Overstreet here from the New Millennium Group, financial advisors in Utah. You know, I've been helping people retire in the state of Utah for the last 20 years. The way we do that is we actually find out what is important to you. We create a step-by-step plan that takes into consideration your income, your debt, whether you want money from real estate, stock market, annuities, life insurance, whatever. If you want to deal with professionals, people that are fiduciaries and have a legal responsibility and obligation to do what's in your best interest, give my team a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Or go to my website, utahsfinancialplanner.com. If you'd like to retire 3 to 5 years before you thought it was possible, give my team a call right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370.
Attention smart homeowners. You don't have to fall for flashy promises and companies that don't even prove their work. At Your Service Pros uses third-party verification software called MeasureQuick to ensure your new HVAC system is installed correctly. This ultimate game changer in the HVAC industry lets you, the homeowner, have proof of how your system was installed. At Your Service Pros utilizes our Bluetooth tools to upload all of your system's information into MeasureQuick. We rely on data-driven insights to properly commission, optimize, and fine-tune your HVAC system for peak performance, improving your family's comfort, lowering your utility bills, and extending the life of your HVAC system. With rebates and tax credits available totaling more than $7,500 on a dual fuel heating and cooling system, it is now more important than ever that your HVAC system be installed correctly. So call us today at 801-YOUR-PRO. That's 801-YOUR-PRO. Have the peace of mind of saving up to 50% on your new system and knowing it's installed correctly by calling 801-YOUR-PRO.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Britt Johnson. First, Tooele School District has had to hire new teachers just this month to accommodate population growth this summer. Second, the wife of a man who was killed in a ski accident last year is suing Park City Guides for negligence. Third, the United Nations Security Council held a meeting today on growing concerns with North Korea's human rights issues. Right now, it's 88 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
The Maui Recovery, special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Again, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can give to help the victims of the Maui wildfire that killed at least 111 and probably many, many more. KSLNewsRadio.com. Head to the top of the page. There's a yellow button there, and you can donate, and it takes you a matter of minutes. And Dave, people who live in the area there are having a hard time getting cell service. We just spoke to Sierra Levitt. She lives on Maui. She called the show live, and she talked about there's just little to no cell service where she is.
Today, I'm back on West Side. That's where my home is. I'm 10 minutes from the fire, and there is little to no service. I'm currently in Napili Market parking lot, which has a Starlink satellite Wi-Fi that you can hook up to. And it also is one of the big hubs for supplies. Thankfully, they have a couple Wi-Fi satellite stations set up for people to have communication on this side.
And I just saw on CNN, just barely, that they have started to allow residents to enter into the west side of Lahaina where the fire is and start looking and exploring through some of the damage. But to this point that communication has been so difficult, we wanted to bring on Earl Foote with Nexus IT. And Earl, as Sierra was describing how hard it was to get some sort of message out to the family, she had to find a Starlink uplink. Is that Elon Musk's thing?
Yeah, correct. That's right, Dave and Dev. Thanks for having me on, by the way. Good morning. And obviously, the current situation's very tragic. As we kind of delve into the topic, your caller certainly identified one of the potential workarounds here in an emergency scenario. If you don't have cell signal and there are locations, that have public Wi-Fi available, that is always an option for you, and enabling Wi-Fi calling or Wi-Fi texting on your mobile device, and using that public Wi-Fi is one of the workarounds. A couple of real quick, maybe unconventional tips that I think are really important for people in these types of situations, whether, it's a natural disaster, an emergency, a fire, or you find yourself lost. I recommend that you always initially go into your battery management of your mobile device and put that mobile device in low power mode. That will, shut down like background applications that typically use a lot of your data, a lot of your battery. And it'll make the battery of the phone last a lot longer.
Okay.
So rather than, maybe 12 hours of battery life, you might get 3 or 4 days out of it without a charge.
Wow.
If you're in a situation where you don't have electricity and can't get a charge. Another thing to keep in mind, in the geographical area in which you live and reside, I totally recommend in your Maps application, always selecting the option for offline maps. And, so if you live in northern Utah, you can geofence the northern Utah area as an offline map. It will download that map to your mobile device so that you can actually access the map without any sort of signal. Otherwise, you would need internet to access. So those are a couple of quick unconventional tips. I know we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we got to talk about more, but that's great advice, Earl, because so often I love to take road trips, and I get somewhere, a small town, and I cannot get a map to download on my phone. But what you're saying is, and give me that information again, what I need to do is what?
In the menu of your map application, look for offline maps, and then you just follow through the wizard to select a map area so that it can download that map directly to your mobile device. I use it for vacations as well because cell signal in international destinations is it's never a guarantee, and so it's a good way to make sure that you can access information about the places you want to get to, even if you don't have mobile device signal.
I want to blow through some more of these tips because you sent us a preview of them. Dave, what one stood out to you?
The emergency alerts. How do you enable those?
So you would go into your device settings. Of course, Apple and Android are a little bit different, but if you go into your settings and simply search emergency alerts, enable those so that particularly in an emergency situation, you're getting text messages or, pushed emergency alerts to your devices that will keep you up to date on, on the latest developments that are happening. That does, kind of bring me to one of the other, tips here, and that would be favor using text over phone calls in these type of situations when you have low signal or there's been an emergency and cell towers are out and it's tough to get any good reliable signal. Text messages will go out a lot easier, or you'll receive them a lot easier than actually being able to make phone calls. And at times, if you have a little bit of data signal, so if your phone shows like a 4G, 3G, 4G, 5G symbol up, generally it's on the top right-hand side. applications like WhatsApp, Signal, or Telegram sometimes are even more reliable at getting messages or text messages out or receiving them than conventional text messages. That's not always the case, but it's always something to try. So I would, and the most popular is WhatsApp. I would recommend, having a WhatsApp account and having it on your phone. If you travel extensively, it's a very good, app to have for staying in contact with, any of your loved ones or friends and family and that kind of stuff as well.
Earl, we have about 60 seconds left. Your tips have been phenomenal. We know so many people on Maui are discovering that their cell phones aren't working or weren't working because of obvious reasons. You have on your list of tips location sharing. I love this because I feel like I could look at my loved one's location if they're sharing it with me and see, if they're moving around, it would give me peace of mind. But why do you have it on your list?
Yeah, I know plenty of families that use this all the time, and especially with minors, and that's certainly a great practice. But in an emergency situation, making sure that your loved ones know where you're at in case the situation is evolving and develops, or let's say that you may be potentially lost in the mountains and you have a little bit of signal, but not a lot, and you can't really get text or phone calls out. Sharing that location, of course, can help people understand where you're at, get help to you if needed. In an emergency situation, going into your Maps application and enabling that location sharing with a few very close people to you certainly can make the difference if you're in a challenging situation, so that they can get emergency responders to you if necessary.
Earl Foote, thank you. What fantastic, really practical solutions. Thank you for helping us walk us through this. Nexus IT is Earl Foote's company, and Debbie. We'll certainly put this on KSL News Radio because there's so many great tips here.
That, and if you missed that discussion and you want to bookmark it and send it to your family members so you're all on the same page about what you can do with your cell phone to make sure you're not wasting battery, make sure you have the right apps downloaded to your phone if you need to communicate in emergency, we will post it on our podcast, on your favorite podcast platform right after the show. Next, a fire investigator calling the show live to explain how that wildfire on Maui became so uncontrollable.
It's 11:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. West Valley City Police are investigating the stabbing murder of a 24-year-old man found at Scottsdale Park. Sergeant Joe Sim summarizes what police have discovered so far.
So at 5:45 this morning, we were called out to Scottsdale Park on an unconscious adult male who appeared to have multiple stab wounds. Medical and police arrived. They determined our victim was deceased on scene.
Sergeant Sim adds that police don't have any suspect information right now and that anyone with information on this case should call the West Valley City Police Department. Expect continued delays up Logan Canyon today. Ranchers continue to move cattle in the canyon between 11 and 3. Today and tomorrow between Temple Fork Road and Twin Creeks. Forest officials say slow down and keep an eye out for stray cattle in the canyon. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden is on his way to Scranton to pay respect to former Pennsylvania First Lady Ellen Casey. She passed away after a brief illness at the age of 91. The president made brief comments before leaving Washington.
This is an incredible woman. Decent, honorable. Her values were amazing. And every time I'd go to Scranton over the years, I'd stop and see her. She was a friend.
The president said he grew up just a few blocks away from Casey, adding she lived a life of grace and dignity. Your money at this moment, the Dow has lost 93 points, the S&P is down 6 points, and the NASDAQ is off 46 points. Coming up, warm today, but storms are on the way. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:33.
Start your days with knowledgeable, friendly voices telling you about the latest news and weather out there.
Hi, this is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
In the business of waking you up each morning from 5 to 9.
On KSL News Radio.
From Audra McDonald to Mozart, from ABBA to Frank Zappa, there's something for you at Utah Symphony and Utah Opera. Feel the grandeur of classical masterworks with a world-class orchestra. Experience adventure and romance with stunning operas and films screened with live music. Hear the best voices in the business sing pop hits. And make memories with the kids at whimsical family concerts. All shows have just gone on sale at the best prices you'll see this year. Get tickets for your favorites at usuo.org. New to the symphony and opera? Performances trending now include Black Panther in Concert, Dvorak's wildly popular New World Symphony, an unforgettable collaboration with singer and actress Audra McDonald, and the heartbreaking love story La Boheme. The super low prices for these high-demand shows won't last long, so secure great seats for extraordinary live music experiences now at usuo.org.
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle on his own.
I owed the IRS taxes for over 5 years, but I didn't have any money to pay the taxes.
Those years cost him dearly.
Most of it was fees and interest. It was horrible.
Ron finally called in the pros.
I called Optima Tax Relief, and boy, am I happy I did.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima, is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've resolved over $1 billion for their clients. Ron was overjoyed.
They settled my account with the IRS. I was ecstatic. They are a lifesaver. They are. I am so happy.
Take Ron's advice and call Optima now for a free consultation.
Yeah, don't do like I did and wait. Call Optima Tax Relief. Do it now. You'll be ecstatic like me.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
I've worked hard to get where I am. I don't cut corners. I see opportunity and make the most of it. And I'm celebrating that success in style by heading to Jerry Seiner Cadillac to get the car I've been working for. They have new XT4, 5, and 6 models in stock and the area's largest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. I've put in the work and I've earned the luxury that only comes with a Cadillac. If you have too, then it's time to visit Jerry Seiner and experience the Seiner difference.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Even before the pandemic, 1 in 5 American adults experience some form of mental illness, depression, suicide, prescription opioid misuse. Utah isn't immune to our share of challenges, but there is hope. We need to take action to keep our loved ones safe. That's why KSL has teamed with the University of Utah Huntsman Mental Health Institute to bring you hope and help you thrive. It's Healthy Mind Matters. Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Granite Credit Union's High Yield Savings Certificates. Here's Ricky Meese.
We did have a debris on the road, and Hazmat was called in to clean it up on the exit ramp from southbound I-215's West Belt at California Avenue. Now, even though they've opened up that ramp and traffic is moving through the area again, we've already had one vehicle slide off. If you take that ramp too quickly, you could run into some trouble, so do slow down. Valley Freeway traffic looking good with no other problems. With over 30-plus specialties and multiple locations across Utah, Revere has you covered for all your health needs. Revere Health, your partner in health, your partner for life. Online at reverehealth.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, it's warming up and skies are clear now, but we'll start to see some storms rolling in this evening, and that'll cool things down for the weekend, getting into the 80s Saturday and Sunday. Right now it's 90 degrees and partly sunny at KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and KSLNewsRadio.com, your all-day companion for news.
The Maui Recovery, special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Residents like Craig Bradley say wind funneled the fire and smoke right to Lahaina as people were still sleeping.
So much heavy smoke being pushed at such a high velocity, doesn't even rise. It's just being funneled straight into Lahaina from right across the highway from Lahaina, like maybe a couple hundred yards or something. And there's a couple houses right in that spot, and they're going up, boom, boom, and there's a gas station right there, and it eventually goes boom, and all that heat and all that wind just funneling it right into Lahaina, where people are like, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, they're sleeping in, their windows open, they don't know what's going on.
reports of 81-mile-an-hour winds. Now, we've had winds like that here in Utah. And you can see it tears trees up by the roots. It tips them over. So we have seen these huge winds before. You can imagine if a wildfire was caught up in that kind of windstorm, how uncontrollable it would become almost instantaneously.
What did you want to know about that fire, Dave?
Well, part of what intrigued me so much is I was looking at a map of Maui, and you see the forests, and you see the mountains, and then the beaches. What causes that kind of destruction? Because as I was looking through the pictures of Lahaina, there are areas that the fire went through and left nothing but ash. It is leveled. There are some trees that are still standing, but they are completely burned and charred. But then you would have this very strange sight of a home sitting in the middle, untouched, green grass, green trees, flowers, right next to a home that has been completely burned and demolished. So I wanted to know what happened and how does that fire jump from home to home to home when there isn't necessarily forests surrounding these homes.
So you're asking about, like, how does a fire behave?
Yes.
Chief Anthony Whittison, Unified Fire Authority's Wildland Division. Good morning.
Good morning.
So walk us through, like, in this circumstance, other circumstances, are fires predictable at all?
Well, to a certain extent, they are. We use a lot of metrics to predict when a fire will occur. A lot of that has to do with the fuel type that we have around our area, the fuel moistures that those fuels have, and then a big component is the weather, and that's a large influence. Now, we can't really predict if where lightning is exactly going to strike, but we can see in some of these storms that come across our area that there is a lightning component, and as it goes through, we can map those lightning strikes and see where those occur and see if a fire has started. So typically after a storm comes through with a lightning component, we'll get folks in that area to see if there's any fire starts, because those are some known factors. The unknown factor is human-caused fires, and human-caused fires make up the majority of the fires that occur within our state particularly.
What do you do when there's a 70 or 80-mile-an-hour wind in the middle of this wildfire?
Well, that's difficult from an operational standpoint. Wind-driven fires are very difficult to suppress. So we take that into consideration. Of course, around our area, we're going to look at the weather and really try to make a prediction of what the fire behavior is going to do, and then we make our operational decisions based on that. When it comes to high winds, such as you're saying 50 to 80 miles per hour, which we have seen in our areas before, we adjust our operational tactics to accommodate for that. Our main goal in some of those, because it's very difficult to stop the fire, our main goal is to evacuate our residents. And that's the focus that we take at that point. And then we start to draw a box around this. Where can we operationally stop this fire based on the conditions that we see?
There's been a lot of questions, Chief, about what caused the fire. And just before we came back to talk to you, and by the way, we're on the line with Anthony Whittison. He's with Unified Fire Authority in the Wildland Division, asking him to explain how fires behave given what happened on Maui and how quickly that fire spread. And Dave, you said you spotted a potential cause for that fire.
Yeah, it looked like the wind had blown over a tree. Tree had hit a power line, and the power line started the fire, at least in one of these areas.
Yeah, so do you, at that point, if you have power lines in the area, and we do have a lot of power lines running through a lot of empty, areas of Utah, open land, would you just have the power company shut off the power line so it didn't help spread the fire?
Yep, That's correct. We would, and not necessarily spread it. The ignition point and figuring that part out is, once the fire is started, our main focus is to suppress that fire. We'll protect our residents, obviously, get them out of the way of the fire, and then suppress that fire. And part of that would be the safety of the surrounding areas, and including safety of our firefighters. So shutting that power grid down in that area is part of that. We work very closely with our utility companies when we have incidents within the area to help facilitate that.
So have you had the power companies shut down power when winds and fire are happening?
That's, yes. Well, winds in particular, they'll do some different, depending on the weather, they might do some rolling blackouts. I don't know if that's the terminology that they really use, but they will shut down some power if there's a potential for super high winds that could create a problem. Now, the power companies have been doing a lot of work in our area to put power lines underground to help mitigate that problem.
Chief Anthony Widdowson, thank you for joining us from Unified Fire Authority, the Wildland Division.
In a moment, we're going to go live to Maui, where Mary Richards is standing by. She works for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I believe she's there on assignment. We'll find out more from her in just a moment. Of course, former reporter, outstanding reporter for us here at KSL News Radio for many, many years. If you want to help the folks in Maui, our Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund, we are getting more and more donations by the minute. 100% of the money we get will go to the Hawaii Community Foundation. It's a nonprofit. It's directly serving the people on Maui. All you need to do is go to kslnewsradio.com and look for that yellow rectangle at the top of the KSL News Radio page. I donated the other day. It just took me a matter of minutes.
Dave and Dujanovic. Hi, it's Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
Why should you start your day with us?
We have decades of news experience between us.
And we take your trust seriously.
Come here for news tomorrow, 5 to 9.
On KSL.
If you've had painful kidney stones, you know you don't want more. Moonstone Stone Stopper is a simple solution that works. Created and recommended by top kidney stone doctors, Stone Stopper is an alkali citrate formula scientifically proven to prevent crystallization. Stone Stopper's patented formula is gentle on the stomach and is available in easy-to-swallow capsules, gummies, and powder drinks that make hydration delicious. Stone Stopper is available at participating Walmart and Walgreens stores. Look for the red stop sign on the bottom shelf of the vitamin aisle. For more information or to find a store near you, go to stonestopper.com.
At Fisher Investments, our clients know we have their backs.
How do your clients know that?
Because Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first.
So wait, you do it because you have to?
No, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Our clients trust us with their retirement savings, and we know how important that responsibility is. So we take the time to really get to know them.
Get to know them how?
We make sure we understand their unique goals, finances, health, family, and lifestyle so we can tailor their portfolio to their specific needs. Our goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Sounds like a big responsibility. You must make big commissions then, right?
No, we don't sell commission-based products. We have one single transparent fee that's structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Take a second and think about how many different software systems you have in order to manage the people who work for you, and of course the people you want to work for you. There's the applicant tracking, the new hire onboarding, your paid time off, your payroll, time and attendance, your online employee benefits enrollment, ACA compliance, your COBRA compliance, and the list is not just daunting, but it seems every time you turn around, it's growing. It's time you quit losing sleep over that list and let someone else do it for you. Magellan HCM has the technology and local service team to pull all those systems and services into one place, simplifying the process for everyone and significantly reducing the errors that will always occur when you're managing all those tasks in different systems. There is a better way. Magellan HCM. Text HCM to 57500 and set up a demo of their highly awarded technology and see for yourself what a difference Magellan can make for you and your company. Text HCM to 57500.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. For more than 30 years, the Salt Lake City community has welcomed the downtown farmers market that includes more than 100 farms and ranches from several Utah counties. Carly Gillespie from the Urban Food Connections of Utah is here with more.
32 years ago, Salt Lake's Downtown Alliance started the Farmers Market at Pioneer Park. It is now a beloved summer tradition every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., June through October. In addition to fruits and vegetables, vendors offer locally made foods and beverages alongside our arts and crafts market. We think of the Farmers Market as a gathering space for Utah farmers, food entrepreneurs, and consumers, which strengthen our communities. The mission of the market is to support sustainable regional agriculture, to build community gathering places, to increase access to nutritious local foods in urban areas, and to educate the consumer about shopping local. With your support, we're achieving the goals and ensuring that our community always has access to delicious local food. We feature fresh vegetables, honey, local meats, savory salsas and sauces, bountiful baked goods, and delicious dairy products. We believe in knowing where your food comes from and how it is produced, and vet our vendors so that you can trust their products are made and grown in Utah. The Downtown Farmers Market at Pioneer Park is open every Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can visit slcfarmersmarket.org to learn more.
The Downtown Farmers Market is a vehicle for entrepreneurs and represents the best of Utah. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Britt Johnson. First, West Valley City Police are investigating the stabbing murder of a 24-year-old man at Scottsdale Park. Second, cattle drives still causing delays in Logan Canyon today. Third, President Biden is on his way to Scranton to pay respect to former Pennsylvania First Lady Ellen Casey. She passed away after a brief illness at age 91. Right now, it's 90 degrees and partly sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to David Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
The Maui Recovery. Special coverage on KSL News Radio.
Former KSL News Radio reporter Mary Richards is on assignment right now for the Church News, for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And the assignment she drew was to fly to Maui. She's on Maui right now, and she landed last night, Dave.
Mary, thank you for joining us. Where are you at right now?
Yeah, so we are staying in Kihei. I'm with the team with the Deseret News and with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the Church News. And we got in last night, and then later today we expect to be making our way more towards some of these evacuation sites and centers and Lahaina as well.
Mary, what have you seen so far in the short time you've been there?
You know, it's just such an eye-opening, but also beautiful, tender experience meeting many people here on the island. As we flew in last night, we flew with people who were returning home, who had been away during the fires, and they were anxious to get back home, but also very nervous about what they would see and what they would find after looking at pictures, in the news. But the best part of the flight, when we flew from Salt Lake to L.A., and then in L.A., 66 firefighters from Riverside, California, got on the plane with us. They're with California Task Force 6, Urban Search and Rescue, and they were all on the flight flying down here to offer their services in this recovery and response as well. That was a stunning sight. I tell you, you guys, the whole flight, we were just silent as they came on, and then there was applause, but also tears. I don't know. It's so hard to describe that feeling, but a really beautiful sight to see this rescue mission coming to Maui.
Mary, when I think of Maui right now, I guess in my mind's eye, I just think of complete desolation. But I know obviously there are places in Maui that have been untouched, then others that have just completely been ruined. Have you seen any of the destruction yet?
No, we'll go over there today. We're going to be going to an evacuation center at one of the stake centers of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where people have been staying. Here in Kihei, there are people who had been evacuated, but some of them have been able to move, back to other places as things have settled for their areas. So it's, here they've still got some tourists and things who are feeling like not knowing how to kind of handle their, do we kind of keep this vacation? Do we want to make sure that we're helping the economy, or do we have this more somber, you know what I mean? As I run into people, they're kind of not sure how to handle that feeling because they want to pay their respects and honor to those who have lost so much, but at the same time, there's plenty of the island that's still open and there are so many people providing relief all over the island. Also on our flight was a family flying from Utah back here home to where they live, and they had, I kid you not, probably about 40 checked pieces of luggage. Delta worked with them and said, please, let's load this plane. And they have supplies for maybe 200 children for school. They have, all these things that they brought with them that people in Utah and some of the people you've talked to on KSL are behind this effort, gathering these things, these donations, and packing them into the plane. And so we were with them as they were unloading all of that in the airport, and so excited to see it all arrive.
Mary Richards, former KSL News radio reporter, now works for the Church News. She landed on Maui last night. She's going to be covering many, many stories as they unfold there on Maui in light of what happened, the massive wildfire that took so many lives and burned so many buildings. And in an interesting twist of irony, Mary, you talked about those 40 pieces of luggage packed with school supplies. Well, we talked to Sierra Levitt earlier in the show from Maui. She's a resident there, and she's called our show 2 days in a row to kind of give us a situation report on what's going there. And she talked about her friends flying from Utah with those 40 pieces of luggage to deliver to the school kids because there's so many displaced school kids there.
Yes, and they're supposed to start school. We saw Sierra at the airport last night, and she was just so thrilled for the help everybody in Utah is giving, so happy to be able to spread the word through KSL, through the Church News, through so many of these outlets. And you're right, they were supposed to start school, and I think some schools are still hoping to open next week, but they're having to absorb students whose school is gone or, who are still in this kind of unique situation of not knowing what's happening with their home. And so all that support is just so needed, and they're just so grateful for it that people are not, moving on, that they're remembering that this is still happening and still there's need here and offering that relief.
Mary, we've seen so many stories about communities mobilizing fundraisers, whether it's boxes of school supplies, personal hygiene kits, direct donations with dollars. We're doing that here at Bonneville, where we're donating 100% of the money that we receive to the Hawaii Community Foundation. And again, you can find that link at kslnewsradio.com. But is there a sense of what is needed right now, and what is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints focusing on as far as their donation efforts?
Yeah, those are great questions, because really I feel like the church, they do so well at mobilizing and getting right down to the ground level of tell me the needs. What are the needs? Instead of just saying, oh, here's this we think you might need, or let's ship this over, or what about this? They immediately get down to those, Ward Relief Society presidents, Elders Quorum presidents, ministering brothers and sisters. Who are the families and what do they need? And so they observe the need and they quickly are able to rally. So the church, I know, is going to be doing more of that this weekend, and we'll be reporting on that in the Church News, looking at what kind of funds are needed. How can they partner with other organizations? The church often partners with local organizations. Okay, what kind of donations and funding do you need to be able to do your work on the ground? Those kinds of things. So that's just this huge mobilization effort locally through the members, and then internationally, really, through this global church. The Bishop's Storehouse is a huge resource here in the islands. They have one in Honolulu, and then they have a remote Bishop's Storehouse here on Maui that is full of, all those goods, foods, lots of canned goods, personal hygiene supplies that they can immediately send anywhere that's needed. Just all those different kinds of relief. I think a lot of organizations have probably told you that one of the biggest helpers they get is cash, because then they can spend it how they need locally. But then others have, said, oh, we need this, we need that. Just Serve is another great resource, justserve.org, the website and app. See what local organizations are saying they need specifically, and those opportunities can be fulfilled remotely as well.
Well, Mary, we miss seeing you every day here at Broadcast House. You're such an awesome reporter here at KSL News Radio for so many years. But, of course, you're doing great work on behalf of the Church News and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we'll look forward to your stories. How long are you going to be there on Maui, Mary?
We'll be here through Monday night, and just doing everything we can to help and to tell these stories, and I'm grateful for your support as well and all that you guys are doing at KSL Radio.
Well, stay safe, Mayor, and tell our friends at the Deseret News, please stay safe as well as you travel together. Great reporting. I know you just landed and were willing to get up early. It's what time is it there? Like maybe 7 a.m. in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes when we reach out to folks on Maui, we're reaching out in the middle of the night to ask them to join the show because of the time difference.
It's the deadliest U.S. wildfire in more than a century, and we have had the opportunity, the chance, the honor to talk to so many people that are there, that have been impacted, that are trying to recover and find this balance, Debbie, not only of providing for their immediate needs, where they're going to stay, what they're going to eat, but it's inevitable for them to not look into the future and say, okay, well, what am I going to do for a job? What is it going to look like? There are so many question marks for the people of Maui right now. It's got to be profoundly unsettling, but there are resources, and we want to invite you, if you can do so, to donate what you can. KSLNewsRadio.com, the Bonneville Maui Strong Fire Relief Fund.
KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. Listen on the KSL News Radio app and in your car at 102.7 FM. KSL News Radio, your all-day companion for news.
It's 12 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour. Police say a woman in southern Utah pulled up to a stranger's driveway, tried to steal their truck, left her baby in the driveway, and drove off. KSL.com reporter Pat Reevy says police ended up identifying the woman based off her belongings and that she left in the driveway.
They spot her a short time later, racing 100 miles per hour down the street. They decide at that point not to get into a pursuit for safety concerns. They follow up later, find her in a house in St. George, and then she is charged yesterday with child abandonment.
We're learning that this is the third time in less than a week that a baby or young child has been abandoned or neglected. Drugs or impairment were suspected to be the factors in all of these cases. The man shot and killed by the FBI last week has had more than one incident involving a gun at his home. Caden Taylor, a former utility worker, exclusively told KSL TV Robertson pointed an AR-15 at him when he was working on a pole behind his home in 2018.
And then the next thing I know, there's someone coming outside with a firearm and telling us to get the blank off his property.
Police were called, but Robertson was not charged since he thought the workers were trespassing. He was shot and killed by the FBI last week while they were serving an arrest warrant after they say Robertson had made social media posts threatening President Biden. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. In Southern California, several law enforcement agencies announced the creation of a joint retail theft task force today. The decision to create the task force comes after several high-profile flash mob-style robberies have been reported across the Los Angeles area. Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna vows that the departments are committed to seeing justice served for these crimes.
We're going to do everything we can to make sure that we hold you accountable because you are impacting our community.
One robbery last weekend at a Nordstrom in East